bitch, keep dancing. Go, bitch, keep dancing. Bounce that ass, oh, bitch, keep dancing. Go, bitch, keep dancing. Go, bitch, keep dancing. Go, bitch, keep dancing. Bounce that ass, oh, bitch, keep dancing. Go, bitch, keep dancing. Go, bitch, keep dancing.
New time.
Bitch, keep dancing. Bounce that ass, oh, bitch, keep dancing.
That offline thing should update any minute now.
Bitch, keep dancing. Bitch, keep dancing. Bounce that ass, bounce, bounce, bounce. Bitch, keep dancing. Bitch, keep dancing. Bitch, keep dancing. Bounce that ass, oh, bitch, keep dancing.
Yo, what up? Probably loud as hell in here. Weird, those first two emotes didn't show up on the chat overlay. How bizarre. There it is. That's supposed to just be the uptime, but it takes forever for it to update. Not so much that it's starting in 3 minutes. I guess it's kind of confusing, huh? Probably not worth showing. Oh.
Microphone check 1 2 1 kick it.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a channel updated. That's a regular channel emote. Let's see. That's a like one of those better Twitch TV kind of ones. This is like a shrug.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Yeah.
Good morning to everybody. We're East Coast, so unless you're like across the Atlantic or something, it should be morning for everybody.
Okay.
I guess I ended up taking about 1.5 days off. At first, I ended up waking up like late, even though I stream late. I woke up late because I was sleeping, I guess, a healthy amount. And I was like, And I decided after it was just a little too late, I was okay, I'm just going to try to make today a work day just for other, like, you know, office stuff, doing stuff. Also, I thought I was going to hang out with my brother, but I ended up not hanging out with my brother because he had already, like, by the time I was thinking, oh, cool, I'm going to hang with him in, like, in a few hours, he was already, like, back in Georgia. So, like, miscommunications abound. So, some plannings went completely haywire. Made a few tweaks. Actually, I was able to fix. I had like a background process problem where this OBS window was constantly having issues, and now it's not. Like, I was dropping one frame at like every like 2000-ish, 1500-ish, but now I don't. Hooray! Honestly, I don't know exactly what I did to fix it, which is not the best, but I did a bunch of little things. OBS has a little built-in help window that you can then look at the current log file. You can even upload the current log file, and there's a button to click to analyze it where it then links it to the URL and opens the web page with your thing already pre-looked at, and it gives you some basics. So there were some weird window settings I turned on and off, or off. Cleaned up some old sources, because I had some really old weird sources when I was trying to set up my wireless thing. My brother, he visits Florida a few times a year for sure. I used to go see him also whenever I would go to 1 or 2 Warhammer events during the year, so I'd see him more often. Does OBS AI analyze it? I don't know that there is one. So I'm going to say no. Or I don't know. I'm not aware of any OBS AI. But I guess it's kind of like, it just has a log file of all the different problems. So it's not really it's not really an AI, right? But sure, why not, man? Yeah. That'll help it boost sales for that free open source program that it has. It'll really boost that ticker price that doesn't exist on the S&P 500. Also, it might not be super noticeable, but normally this window, you can kind of see a little bit leaking through, is usually hella bright. But I just ordered some blackout curtain things that have helped it substantially. So, hooray. I also reorganized my window I look at, just a few tweaks. And then today, I'll probably not go too long because A, it's a brand new day with a brand new shift. So barring, all of a sudden completely popping off or whatever, I'm setting a specific goal for myself to make sure I work on another edit, because I got a request to make another like vertical short kind of edit of someone's clips or whatever. So yeah, hashtag goals. Also, utilizing the time that I was awake, but knowing that I was going to try and stream early, did some 3D printing stuff. I did one batch of chores. I did some laundry, so nothing too crazy. Just trying to get into a new daily flow. Still have yet to crank out a workout, which I thought would have already happened already, but well, what do you know? Lazy will be lazy. But that's okay. We're still just barely into our first like 10 days of this whole new normal, and we have half a year to really lock it in, but I'm optimistic. And to some degree, getting back into some of my side hobbies might turn them into side hustles if I ever needed to. Not so much that I want, not so much that I have the goal of opening like an Etsy store. It would be more like useful prints. Like, I don't want to just print out a bunch of bad dragons or whatever, right? And a bunch of flexible toys. I'd want to print out things that would be good for the world to some degree. I technically lock it in and crank it. I need to lock in and I need the crank. Hey, what's up? Val's on YouTube. And of course, by addressing, I'm technically breaking terms of service, but it's not on screen, and I'm not going to give them untoward additional attention. Whatever. There's no Twitch staff in here watching, so it's fine. Good morning. I think it would be healthy to have like a regular daytime stream. And also maybe instead of streaming 9 hours a day through the overnights, which then leaves me a bit mentally zombified, and then especially when we had like conversations popping, there was a few nights that we had. I guess it's something to do with like the 3 to 4 a.m. crowd will draw out a bunch of libertarians who just want to find a nobody streamer to then yell at, right? That's a new thing. Yeah, I guess I can break the terms here. See, boom, there it is. Hey. And that was neat, just to have some interesting conversations. I've been trying my best to save a little folder full of just some of the points that I have. So I have some bookmark folders for a couple of things whenever I want to bring up some things that help refute some of their common talking points, and also some of the things that just make me mad about the world, and then give me something to talk about. But we won't get too far into that right now. Are you from the tags? Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people who come in and say, Heart, hey, I found another leftist online. How you doing? And then they don't really say much because I guess they're just chilling or sleepy. And then other people find it, and then they have like, hi, just curious. Here's a bunch of things I want to talk about. And it's like, okay. But it's good for me to talk it out. It's good for me to also, I mean, I have a 0% chance of changing some dude's mind, right? What grinds my gears, yeah. But perhaps at some point there'll be somebody who's, I mean, like, I guess like there's the goal or the hope that the same way, because I mentioned this before during one of those days, it was years and years ago, and I was using gay as a pejorative, right? Like, I was voting for Obama as my first election, but because I knew that like gay rights made sense, and you know, I had a lot of hope for the world. But then also I was still using the gay as a pejorative, like, oh man, this mouse is gay because it's broken or something. I don't 100% know the exact timeline, but that sounds about right. My mom would be like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. That's kind of like not good. And I'm like, no, I don't mean it that way. And that's what's important to me. That's what's important for me, and I will only care about that. And then, you know, after how many years, those little whispers, and then me being away from it, and then seeing other people's perspectives and stuff, slowly that word, that little message, finally breaks through. For some people, it'll never break through, and they'll just forget it even existed. But sometimes that little message just works its way in, and it makes a big improvement. Hey, you're being kind of gay. And she said the F slur. She said, you're being an F slur, and then don't do it. I'm like, oh, shit. I guess she's being serious now, right? Yeah. Oh, man, dude. That was definitely, like, if I had to think back on the slurs that I said, like the serious slurs, that would be one of them. I definitely have said that one in a negative tone. Not even against, like, gay people or whatever, just because it was the 2000s. But I don't think I ever said the N-word. No. Yeah. I was going to get to that one. I don't even think I ever did a soft A, but, like, I honestly can't, like, 100% guarantee anything. But, like I would be on Xbox Live, but I would call people a nooblet or something. I wouldn't call them a specific, like, I don't know. There was something weird. I knew better than to say it, especially in my own home or whatever. It's just kind of wild to just, like, pop off and say something insane. But I would call people gay, right? For sure. I think one of my favorite World of Warcraft characters, his name was Gay Boy, because there was this hilarious YouTube video. It might have even actually been a YouTube video, because for a while it was just like random ass websites that had videos, but this was probably an actual YouTube video that was like the Tales of Gay Boy or whatever, who was just someone doing well in lobbies with the name Gay Boy, and then everybody was just like getting real mad at him and saying really bad things. So it was still like technically from an ally perspective, but ultimately it wasn't. Yeah. Weird memories that stick into your head that never leave. I guess because I had that character and then I got reported for having the name Gay Boy, and I was like taken aback because I was like, what if I was gay? Why can't I be a gay boy? What the hell? But obviously it was not done in a in an ally way. So we all have a journey, right? So that's where talking to those people And it seems like they've been somewhat cordial. I don't know if that's just a plan of theirs to be like, no, I do see what you're saying. And a lot of them haven't had the most strict, hardline libertarian views. Like, for example, this one person was not pro-child slavery. And I was like, wow, they're already walking closer to, like, regular society. Beautiful, you know? The system works. Oh, libertarians. I saw a study that was talking about how generally conservatives are more likely to commit adultery based off of self-reporting is not a good useful metric, but there was a bunch of data leaks, and one of the data leaks was ashleymadison.com, and they took that data leak and then compared it with like voter registration records based off of party affiliations, and they were able to figure out that libertarians were the most likely to cheat, which is kind of like no duh, right? And then it was like Green Party and Republicans are kind of like middle of the field, and then Democrats are the least likely. Okay, child work for the parents' business, even beyond that. Like literally, like I'm the father of this household, aka the king of my own fiefdom, and this wife and these children are my property to some degree. So I should be allowed to barter and to provide them as a, you know, in a sales transaction. I should be able to make a deal for land or for property utilizing them or whatever. It's the most like complete end goal of libertarianism. Like age of consent is like not a process, because who could ever say what should and shouldn't be, the liberty of freedom and all that. And it's just like, oh God. I mean, that's definitely a part of it, right? That is a perhaps even a more approachable way to do what I'm doing. Like I am saying, here's ideas that I think are important, like the government should provide for its people, and there's a responsibility of the masses to do the most efficient things to do the most good or whatever, right? Like those are like, oh, that sounds reasonable. And someone might use that similar tone, but with a libertarian angle, and say, shouldn't a child be allowed to work for its own, you know, parents' business? That's not, you know, too wild, right? And then we both take steps to get closer to our, I guess, goals. It's just, I just like to think that mine is not about slavery, right? Mine's about, you know, prosperity of individuals and societies together. Oh well. it takes all kinds, you know. There's definitely one video that I wanted to watch today. I'll wait till Kara gets in, because she's working and stuff, so she may not be able to just tune in even for long periods of time or whatever, which is totally understandable. But she's also able to watch a lot more than what she would normally when she's sleeping. So but there's some other softer, chill videos we can watch along the way. It's all about watching videos. I mean, one day I can play video games or something. Could be a good way to extend a shorter stream by just firing up some stuff. Games I've been playing recently, super recently, would be like Hades 2. It's getting real close to the final. Oh, excuse me. The final release of 1.0. So it's been in early access for a while, and they've been drip feeding different updates with some really neat stuff. It's a very, 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 very full game already, with lots of layers. Hades 1, amazing game. Loved it. Hades 2, I've put a lot of hours into it and beaten a lot of it. There's just like a couple of like challenges left to do. Do I still play Helldivers? I haven't played Helldivers in a while, but it's been installed perpetually. I've never uninstalled it, because it's always like, that is like a fun game, and it could be cool to get back into it at some point. But I haven't played it probably easily within a year, I guess, right? Yowza. The dew will fix that. The dew will fix it. That's right. For whatever reason, I was better about not yawning, although now thinking about yawning is going to mess me up. Maybe it's best if we just distract me with things. All right, let's do our first video. So I think I was able to make this better, my system, but maybe not. It's not 100% better. All right, so what I do is I copy the title, put it into my title, and then I copy the URL, And then I use my new button that will do all of that in one-ish button push. Okay, so that means it is inside the Discord, double checking that it's in there. This is me talking about my 3D printing hobbies, which you can also, we could take a side track after the video and talk about that. But my React sources, so bam, ta-da. So not only are they pinned in the chat and posted, but they're also there. And that community invite link should be, I think you're already part of it, yeah. But you're also, it should be a perpetual link, so it shouldn't have expired, but feel free to let me know if it hasn't. Alrighty then. Let's see how loud this is.
I'm Gen Alpha. I've never lived a day without technology.
Technology is ruining education. The costs of student use of technology are far outweighing the benefits.
The kids of today are not motivated at all, even doing a fun book study, like they don't care.
And so these kids just have these devices in their hands that they think will get them through the rest of their life, and they're failing in life and in my class.
Hey, Happy Goat. Sorry to be gone for a little while. But I was trying to think about changing some hours around. I know this might be like your bedtime or whatever it is, but I know it isn't. Yeah. I overslept one day and then, I was like, well, maybe I should try to like tweak some stuff just to see how this would work.
These kids can't read. They can't decode. They have no vocabulary, no background knowledge. I've never seen anything like it.
I think the schooling system is not preparing people for a world that exists. You know, we haven't grasped the fact that AI is going to be the biggest, most disruptive technology in the lives of our children.
My kids hopefully will never be smarter than AI.
The calculator doesn't mean we stop teaching math. So we have to do the same type of updating with artificial intelligence.
Unless we take personal accountability to teach and learn human skills, they will disappear.
How many people are like fully doing all their school?
That's a bombshell, bro. Whoa. You got fired and evicted in the same day? Wait, are you doing like a meme from the video, or do you mean like what? Jeez.
Work, writing their papers, getting their degrees using AI. Like we're so doomed.
I don't know if anybody has attempted to utilize AI in their life. There was a point where I was trying to, let me just have it make some like default setups for me. No meme. Damn. Well, hopefully you got some, I don't know, not so much. I got a backup plan or something. I had somewhat of a 6-month window to get ready for my soft layoff, which is not the same thing as getting fired. Jesus. I guess, depending upon if you have like an, okay, still, like that's stressful, right? I mean, that's like a whole like process, and then it's frustrating. Is it like a company town or something? Like that's... What are the odds that it would happen on the same day? Jeez. I had tried to kind of whip up some basic like video scripts and things, and I noticed the more and more I would try to use it to give me a default, or to try to use it to like do some research for me or something, the worse I would end up being, where it would just sort of like do that smoothing. Like there's the skills and the exercise and the repetitiveness, and also a bit of the drudgery, but then you also get good at doing something, and you're able to, it's skills. You got to have skills and experience in order to properly do things, not only on your own, but even with others. And if you're just utilizing AI just to fill in the gaps, or to fill the entire cup, and then you try to like stir it real fast at the end, it leaves you empty. It leaves you numb. It's not good. And I know that I, in their position, would 100% be super lazy, wanted to get home and play Roblox or Dota or whatever the hell game I'm into at the time. I don't think Fortnite's even that big anymore, at least not for that generation. But yeah, it is a little spooky. I don't want to be like the old people shaking at the television and afraid of their own shadow and saying that, of course, this next generation is doomed. We have phones. Oh, this next generation is doomed. We got calculators. But I worry about them because I cut corners and I guess I turned out okay. But actually, I do regret cutting as many corners as I did. And I regretted not being as good at writing a paper or writing an essay or what it becomes a YouTube script. But I knew people who were better at it, then kind of were able to springboard it into their life in a way that I never would have assumed. Like research papers, I was literally counting down what would be my last research paper ever. And when I was writing it, I was like, hell yeah, this is it, the last one. And now I kind of want to have a mini career where I just write them on my own for fun. And it's just like, fuck. I wish I built those skills better and nourished them better. I did not read books in school. I read summaries. And now I'm like, fuck, I'm dumb as hell. I'm illiterate. Damn it. So these tools are better at giving them the easy answers than the ones I had, which means the same kind of negatives that impacted me will now impact them, again, in a better way, in a more severe, serious way. Oh, I still had the 3D printer turned on, which is funny. I was 3D printing stuff and seeing how I can get it to kind of go, but that print is done. So it's kind of a little maintenance part. It's not really all that useful or not that interesting. So
students are facing academic challenges at levels we've never seen before. Like 40% of students across the nation can't read at a basic level kind of trouble. And at this point, it's kind of an undeniable fact that kids are less than all right, as we see behavioral issues on the rise and cognitive efforts decline. Point being, Gen Alpha just can't catch a break, and no one can quite figure out why. But just as we thought it could.
Interesting way to phrase it, just because millennials were like the first to sort of not be set up to succeed greater than their previous generation. And then that continued and was more severe for the Gen Z. And now I assume, again, unless there's major change, which was what we're fighting for, but without major change, Alpha will be even worse. And then they'll also have less skills on a macro scale. So that's going to make it even harder still.
Couldn't get worse. AI entered the scene. And now we have to deal with kids using ChatGPT to do their homework for them, meaning they don't even have to think for themselves anymore. As a parent with two littles entering the school age soon enough, I'm very nervous and confused about the schooling world and wonder what's even important in education anymore. Because in a modern world, is it really that bad for students to outgrow an education system designed 50 years ago? Well, that's what we're going to try and get to the bottom of today, how education got this bad, if technology is to blame.
Also, I'd never seen this channel before. Ashley Embers was just kind of like, just on my scroll of just regular ass YouTube homepage just to see what sort of sparks interest based off the day's feel, the day's vibes. And by the day, I mean like just like the world or whatever, the news cycle, as well as the actual individual day.
And if AI will be its redemption arc or fry every last brain cell Gen Alpha has left.
50, try well over 100. Wait, what was 50? Damn it.
Of today, how education got this bad, if technology is to blame, and if AI will be its redemption arc or fry every last brain cell Gen Alpha has left.
I'm assuming it's going to be on the harsher
so I
on the
was
fry
wondering where
part.
kids fall on this kids these days severity scale, because people.
I mean, like, are we going to end up on the? Is everything going to be sick? Or are we going to end up in a Wall-E type situation where we're all just like a Wall-E situation might even be the most optimistic version where we expect everything to take care of us and we are fat and simple, but at least we're not, dead. But the other version is even worse where we don't even get to be on endless space cruise ships. It could be way worse.
People have been raising their fists at the youth for generations now. We need look no further than the Offspring's 90s hit, The Kids Aren't All Right. So either they were ahead of their time, or kids are just made to be perpetually criticized.
I do think that this comes from a different place, right? It comes from a place of less about their direct behavior and more about the shortcut tools that are strewn about like somewhat of a landmine that we're also handing to them in many ways.
Well, we can start by looking at a recent headline, the elite college students who can't read books. Not the most promising place to start, but in this piece, Nicholas...
But there's also been headlines saying the same shit about Gen X, about the boomers, about et cetera, right? I mean,
Dames, professor at Columbia University, shared his concerns, saying that over the past decade, students have become overwhelmed with reading and are bewildered by the thought that they have to finish multiple books in one semester. And it's...
Though declining literacy rates, I think, is a pretty clear indicator of, oh, something. Oh my.
It's not just that kids are struggling with reading novels, they don't know how to. One student even shared that she was never required to read an entire book in high school. But that is just the tip of the iceberg of
required to, just never actually did it.
the failing education system. So let's take it back all the way to elementary school, because this is an issue with many layers of challenges where children are going through the early school years with foundational gaps and learning deficiencies. To start with reading, because it's the worst of them all, kids have never been so behind on reading levels. There's a reason why we see this trend of kids don't know how to read on TikTok. And it's not all talk to...
So some metrics and ways to measure things could be outdated. I don't think literacy is one of them, but it's one of those things to keep in mind because a changing and evolving world, and it's not like our scholastic system and our rubric grading system were ever perfect. So not only are things changing, but the thing that was already a little bit weak could be made even weaker, but the end goal is having, similarly to how it was before, if not better, prepared young people who become young adults, who become adults, to then enter. I mean, I've heard of schooling as like it's training factory workers more than it is teaching people things. So if that factory worker pipeline is showing negative numbers, that could be a good thing because we're just not pumping out those mindless worker drones the way we used to. But also, we do want them to have some form of noticeable knowledge and skill. So it does make sense that some things, it's just not just taking it blindly as accepted fact that, oh, look, this metric's down, therefore bad, because that metric wasn't a perfect metric before.
Repeat for emphasis, 40% of first grade students were well below grade level in reading in 2020, compared with 27% in 2019.
I say this
what's COVID?
Most,
but yeah,
like love and patience that I can say it with. Y'all, the literacy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, also, this is also the generation that got hit into the COVID generation as well, because they were at their fundament. This it's a wide range, any generation, but they were the ones in that earlier core essential part, and we had never really done a mass remote style thing. So, hey, Karazin, what up?
Literacy rates right now are insane. They're crazy. Kids aren't reading. They're not recognizing letters. They're not recognizing letter sounds. This is going to go much deeper than we think it's going to go.
You know what? Job security for this generation. Whew, that was close. Yeah. The next batch of college graduates of who, by the way, it's they won't be outpacing us. Now they won't be ready to like pay into Social Security and keep us alive, but that's a later problem. So,
There's teachers in 5th grade saying that their students are reading on a 2nd, 3rd grade level. I have students that can't recognize their letter sounds. I teach first grade.
So as you can see, this is a problem from day one of school for a lot of kids, where they aren't learning the foundations of reading, so they have nothing to build upon. As this first grade teacher shares, most years by the third week of first grade, Heather Miller is working with her class on writing the beginning, middle, and end of simple words. This year, she had to backtrack all the way to the letter H.
We've all heard of the issues with these kids that are being raised on iPads and the parents blaming teachers and not being hands-on in their academics. But when I tell you I was absolutely flabbergasted at the interaction that I had with a child yesterday, I just have no words for it. I'm a bartender at a resort, and this family came up to the bar to order their food. One of the kids, who's about 8 or 9 years old, asked what flavor of Dippin' Dots we had, so I handed her a menu. This way she could read the flavors, and I was going to continue helping the rest of the party. When I tell you that I handed her the menu and she looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, I can't read. I was left absolutely speechless for a few seconds. You're going to tell me around second, third grade she can't read?
And the trends only get worse as we move into the high school statistic.
I don't know if I know what grade. Like, I don't know the age of children when they talk. I feel like I should kind of have a vague knowledge of that. I guess I've just been so separated from the raising of children, and none of my friends, other than one, have I really been in contact with. So I guess that's a problem with putting up walls around your neighborhood, not having third places. You can easily get completely desensitized to the community and other humans around you and leave yourself in a giant blind spot, which in some ways can lead to these problems as well.
Where in 2022, nearly 70% of 8th graders scored below proficient, and of those, 30% scored below basic. So that's how reading's going. But what about math? Well, it's also on a different sort of struggle bus. In spring 2023, just 56% of American 4th graders were performing on grade level in math, down from 69% in 2019. Now, as we
that's not even great. 69% in 2019, that's still not, like, it's not even like saying they're doing awesome. It's just like acceptable. I guess it's technically a C. Kind of. 69 is like a 70%, which is what we deem appropriate. I don't know. It still seems bad.
We know a lot went on in the 2019-2020 school year to explain these numbers. And while school from home had a massive negative effect on kids' learning, it was not the initiator, but merely an amplifier. Kids are just behind in reading.
Some people just can't read. You don't know their whole story. Mind your business. Mind your business. Yeah. That's the libertarian model. Especially considering, like, the children rely on us. Hieroglyphics will come back in the form of emojis, like the, you know. What flavor do you want? There's the blueberry, there's like the red apple looking thing, and you just give them a menu of flavors and go, I mean, because I've seen those things where they go like, wow, check out this app I have for my Google Gemini or whatever. And it's like, Gemini, what am I looking at? And it just tells you like, oh, you're looking at a keyboard. That's probably this model keyboard based off of what it looks like or the name I can see on it. And it's just like, what? Like, other than like very specific, it's just really funny to be like, what am I looking at? Yeah. And it's just like, that's cereal, dog. What the hell? What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, what are you asking? What am I? Grok, what am I?
In math, and they're not catching up. As we see here, over time, scores in reading and especially math have generally trended upward or held steady. But over the last decade or so, students...
I guess she might have been used to being able to help individuals and knowing that people of this age are when people can start reading. I've never met a person who's like, oh, I just straight up can't read. Like, I've heard about there being specific like athletes who were famous, but then ended up not being able to read. And you go, wow, that's crazy. That's like from the 70s. That's a long time ago. And you would hear these statistics about like America's literacy rate is this percent or that percent. And I always figured it must have been predicated upon, you know, incredibly impoverished areas or weird ways of edge casing where like technically these people are illiterate because they don't meet the proper level for their grade, but they could at the very least read a sentence if you give it to them. Like they can actually read. So I never met a human other than, I guess, a baby who's just like, they just can't read. Second grader would be what, a 7-year-old, right? I guess there's the expectation that they can read simple things. Again, I don't know the expectations of what ages you should be or shouldn't be. You knew a very skilled mechanic who couldn't read. That's interesting. Yeah. It is reassuring, I guess, to hear that people can make their way through life in a few different ways, and language can be still a part of them. They can still have understanding of how to form thoughts and then share those thoughts with others around them. It's just, it is. I mean, even as a guy who like was happy not to read books and things, reading is real useful. It's real useful.
Student scores have leveled off rather than gaining. And I just want to take a moment to emphasize how big of a deal this is, because early education shapes a child's overall experience and success in school. Low scores in math and reading specifically are a major cause for concern because these are the skills essential to success in nearly every other subject.
I assume reading and writing go hand in hand, because as you learn to read, you kind of like do it through learning to write a bit. But again, just going with very, very rough memories, as well as just what you see in media as it represent people going through that process, because a blind spot, a major blind spot I've just never turned back on. How would you be able to read a contract? Who reads a contract anyway? I agree. You just need to know the button that's glowing is the one you just slap that one. I got it. Gimme. I mean, sometimes, because like there's always like, even on like medical paperwork, there's like, is somebody else filling it out for you? They put that, they just put an X. Yeah, that was a thing. That's even like a Simpsons joke, is like, now you all can't put an X when referring to the fighting hellfish, the flying hellfish. Fuck. Now my memory is going. Where they were making a deal about the last living member gets all the stolen Nazi loot, and a lot of them were dumb because they're just random dumbasses. And that was said that people put an X where they don't know how to write, but I guess everyone puts an X. That's not very helpful.
When students struggle in these areas, it often leads to falling behind across the entire curriculum.
Every year that I've ever taught band, at the beginning of the year, when you're dealing with beginner musicians, the first thing that you do is teach them how to read notes on a music staff. And usually what I see in my classes when students are having a hard time identifying the note names on the staff, most of the time these issues have to deal with them not understanding that there's a line space, alternating orders. But this past year, it was different. They weren't just having those typical issues that you would have to work through. A lot of these kids would not even use alphabet symbols. They would be making up symbols. They would not even know how.
That's what Kara was saying, was hieroglyphs are making their way back. What is this? That's the letter B. Oh, I see. Interesting. Like, no, letter C is over here. Oh, IB. Interesting.
How to write A, B, C, D, E, F, G on their piece of paper. They would also have issues not knowing alphabetical order in general. So if they knew how to write A, B, C, D, E, F.
So the interesting thing that I saw a long time ago that I never thought about, but Vsauce did a thing where alphabetical order functionally has no intent, no meaning, no usefulness beyond the order we decided. A being the very first letter does not change anything about any written words at all if you have a different order of the alphabet, because that's not a problem. It does not play a part. I still have to fucking say the damn thing to get all the way through it, which is just memorization. which is probably isn't, I don't know, the best form, but it's worked for a very long time. It would be interesting to see if there's a better way to do it. And this is clearly not the better way to do it, right? The lack of knowing it at all, but
FG, they couldn't answer to me what letter would come after C in the alphabet. And I'm not just talking 1 or 2 kids in the class. I'm talking closer to 50%.
But I think this is a good example of how even music, which is just more of like an expression in art, there's, oh, you don't understand the order that usually people know by now, and you can't even decipher what these letters are. That's also going to make things difficult. And knowing that C and D go in this order, it'll be helpful when you're learning notes and stuff. So like it has rippling impacts in areas that you might not normally
We're talking about 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, kids that are about to go into high school.
Research shows if children are struggling to read at the end of first grade, they're likely to still be struggling as fourth graders. And in many states with third grade reading gates in place, students could be at risk of getting held back if they haven't caught up within a few years.
No child left behind.
So if you're not on track in, say, grade 2, then your likelihood of keeping up by the time you reach high school plummets. So now the question is, what the frick happened to education? All these stats of children falling behind are honestly so scary to hear as a parent and has really opened my eyes.
I mean, I have to imagine that the young ones aren't getting AI pumped into their hands, like, because the most recent AI slop stuff is only very recent, and also, especially earlier, it was heavily paywalled, so they wouldn't, and there'd be like limits on the total number of queries and stuff, so you wouldn't be throwing that into a kid's hands. So I'm assuming that COVID is the #1 damage dealer in that sort of specific sector, but
is about how involved we need to be. My oldest Rook is entering kindergarten this fall, and so the importance of a well-rounded.
I thought it was like, I didn't understand what she was saying, but I guess her child's name is Rook, a name I've never heard used for a person before. It's not a bad name. It's not like the most white name that you can, because there's a few of those, like, you know, Slater or whatever. Like, there's a few different names that you're like, oh my God. Yeah, I know exactly what that kid is. I assume that the numbers that they're referring to, they could just be the sky is falling to some degree, but Brook, but not Rook. It also could have just been a snip in the editing, but even the captions saw Rook. And that's what I heard too. I assume that there's a bit more than just the simple, because obviously there's always going to be people with developmental issues, people who have dyslexia, all kinds of things that can hit into that. And also the socioeconomic factors are always going to play a role in education. So as America itself is spiraling, despite the GDP numbers or whatever, but as individual families are struggling in different ways, again, that can also play a role to, on the macro scale, decrease performance numbers on our previous metrics that we would use, because things are getting worse in ways that manifest themselves in a lot of different sectors. Things that you wouldn't normally think about is like, uh-oh, the price of eggs has gone up, so therefore reading levels will go down. And you go, huh? But because shit at home's worse, and when shit at home's worse, less kids will have help with parents and all kinds of, like, it all goes down, and all
Education
impacts.
has really just been on my mind, especially because we're going to be homeschooling, so his success literally falls on my shoulders. But with that,
True. Yeah. I mean, and I was saying before, the education system was never a great system. So just because our system is saying problem doesn't always mean problem. Some of these anecdotes definitely seem like problems, but again, could be fear mongering. I'm going to make a banger TikTok if I can talk about this, that. So I wonder if there's going to be a bit more analysis going on.
I've been scouring the web for resources to kickstart our education journey.
If they're a homeschooler, that's the, well, I guess everybody was kind of a homeschooler for very brief periods, sort of, with the COVID thing, where they normally, they're more of a homeschooler than they used to be, but they still have a teacher and a curriculum and stuff, versus a mom and dad who feel like they can do it better than the damn government. How could they? You know, so Yeah, homeschooling is one of those things that I've only had like fringe interactions with. A few people in my neighborhood were homeschooled, and they were always a little different, but that's to be expected to some degree. But also, I've heard a lot of other people talk about their homeschooling knowledge. And there's been a few people who do homeschooling and they come out fine, right? But the exceptions don't necessarily make the rule.
And that's where today's partner comes in, IXL. IXL is an online learning program designed to help learning trusting as before. We appreciate the video
This'll do it.
tutorials
This'll
they
fix
offer
it.
because to understand child's education.
Problems in the classroom. I wanted to just talk about the problems with our current system.
Technology specifically is changing school, we need to address the already prevalent issues in the school system.
Hey.
With that, I'm going to attempt to break down the problems in school, but that is a big task, especially when even teachers can't all agree on it, but I'll try my best. The first problem being kids aren't getting enough attention and the help they need in the classroom. I remember even when I was in grade school, class sizes were on the rise, and COVID just expedited that. Because as we know, we had a ton of teachers quitting during the 2020-2021 school year.
After years,
bro, like those, if you remember those, what is it? If you remember those parent teacher meetings, they weren't called parent teacher conferences, but they were these like sort of like school town hall things. People were going like nuclear. They were like threatening lives and making and just yelling. So like people were going to quit, especially again on a macro scale. It's going to impact the system.
of being told don't like teaching, just quit. Guess what teachers are doing? Quitting. In record numbers.
Some opting for early retirement during the height of the health crisis, while others left due to differing ideologies towards medicine. There was also a lot of burnout in juggling in-person teaching and...
I wonder what that means. You think that means anti-vaxxers specifically? Avoiding the topic makes it sound like... I mean, I don't want to put words in their mouth, obviously, because I don't know this person. I want to, you know, I don't want to throw shit at it, but it's like, what do you mean health ideologies? What do you mean?
remote teaching at the same time, leading some teachers to quit, and some simply just could no longer manage the behavioral issues of Gen Alpha. In fact, a survey in January 2021 found that nearly 1/4 of teachers indicated a desire to leave their jobs at the end of the school year, compared with an average national turnover rate of 16% pre-pandemic.
The survey, so the end of 2020, because this is 2021, January, nearly 1/4 desire to leave. That could be for a lot of, but that doesn't mean behavior specifically, right?
And so class sizes have needed to increase because there's literally no other option when we already were dealing with a teacher shortage and then a massive group of them up and left.
I've been a substitute teacher for nearly a year now, and I just want to say, if you are sending your kids to public school, please ensure that they are doing extra learning on the weekend, extra learning when they get home from school, because I've just witnessed being in a classroom with over 35 kids, one teacher. Now, I don't understand how they're doing that on a day-to-day basis, but for me, that was just overwhelming.
That doesn't sound, I mean, in Florida, I feel like 35 was a pretty normal number for classrooms. I don't remember the exact class sizes. I mean, obviously, it might even depend upon the grade or whatever, but that sounds right around where it was in some of my schools. I think. I could be wrong, though.
But on top of the teacher shortage, the curriculum being taught has been problematic as well.
Not that that's a good thing. Again, not that that's a good thing. It's a lot, yeah. Maybe it was closer to like 25, so like the integer 5 sounds familiar, but 25 was where it was, not 35. 35 probably is a lot more. Obviously, college lectures, very different format, very different everything. But there would even be college classes that had a regular size classroom that would be 15 to whatever, you know, because each class is individually, you know, literally each section or whatever it is differently signed up.
Well, how convenient. If you've been watching for a while, you've heard me talk about the problem of phonics in early education and how children across the country have been taught to be poor readers for decades now. I won't go too in depth on it because, like I said, I've talked about it before, but it is still needed.
30 plus was normal for you, and then yeah, honors classes. I mean, yeah, they were either parentheses advanced classes, like air quote advanced, because there was. I remember the term remedial, but I'm pretty sure that would be lower than normal classes, normal, whatever. But even my advanced classes or whatever, because it wasn't like I was in like the stupid gifted program or whatever it is. I was just in regular school stuff. So, but whenever even in the advanced classes, it still seemed like there was very full classrooms.
Needed in this conversation. So in the 90s, the standard for teaching reading to kids switched from phonics-based to what's called 3Qing. This is because new research was showing that kids
Ooh, she doesn't like new research.
learn reading better by being thrown into it head first rather than being taught how to actually sound out words and learn the rules, because that's too boring and old school. And so this new system...
I'm sure that's what the research was saying. I am a bit of a not a contrarian or whatever it is, but whenever I hear people poo-pooing the research, I usually am on the defense of the research, just because it's like there's potential for the research to be bad faith or not done on a systemic enough basis to then make such a sweeping change. But it's like when people were mad at Common Core, I remember all the people, and this is even before I fixed my perspective on the world, they were shaking their fist at Common Core, and I was just like, what's so bad about it? And they're like, it's stupid. And I'm just like, I've heard these types of arguments before about things that I disagree with, because I would be at work and something new would come out and we'd work on it, and then people would be like, this is stupid, and I'm like, no, it's not, it's great, what do you mean? And it's like, oh, interesting. And obviously the things we did at work, they were not like studies. They were just like, the old one broke, or the old one we don't have a license for anymore, so you get the new one. And sometimes the new one is worse, and I still enjoyed a new one just because, hooray, something different, even if it's worse to some degree, because my job was just TV production, so the computer program to make graphics go, or to make the other thing go, like, as long as it was something new and interesting, that was fine. Even if it didn't improve anything, it's still okay, cool, something new. And I guess I was also a bit of an overachiever to some degree as well. So, but I noticed there was a massive default resistance to new things in any way. People will be like, I'm never going to do that phone update that's coming. Ew, gross. I'm like, why don't you want to do the phone update? Like, it'll make your phone better if there was problems, and also all the apps are built off of this new framework, depending upon which, how big of an update it is. Just there's always this default, fuck that new thing. So she might come from a background, don't know, but just the tone reminds me of that previous tone that I would see a lot, and I did not normally give that tone a lot of weight based off of what I could see directly in front of me and the way that things worked.
Essentially taught kids to read by memorizing sight words and looking for clues in the book to figure out words they don't know. The name 3Qing comes from the notion that readers use 3 different kinds of information, or cues, to identify words as they're reading. This means they're looking at the pictures for reference, guessing what word makes sense next in the sentence, and skipping over what you don't know and coming back to it later if you can't figure it out. Which is like actually kind of crazy. Like, I don't know how everyone got on board with it. There must have been some kind of propaganda going on, because what happens when you run into a word with no context? And
let's see. Try to see if I can find a bit more. I'm not seeing any, at least not in these immediate links. Just looking up the default thing. 3Qing and phonics are distinct approaches to teaching reading, with phonics being the more effective and scientifically supported method. That sounds like it was the old method, according to this AI summary. 3Qing encourages students to guess at words using context, pictures, and sensitive structures, while phonics focus on directly teaching the relationship between letters and sounds, phonemes and garphonemes. To decode words. That's me failing to decode my word. I probably use a 3Qing method internally, because I'm like, let's see the exact text I'm trying to read here. I'm like, the 3Qing encourages students to guess at words using context, pictures, and sentence structure. That's kind of how I do guess a lot of words, while phonics focus on directly teaching the relationship between letters and sounds. Phonemes and graphemes to decode words. Research strongly suggests that phonics-based instruction leading to better resulting outcomes than using 3 queuing method can hinder reading development. Well, it sounds like the research is against 3 queuing. So she's saying the research was saying it was useful. So this is kind of related. High school grad Sue's school says he can't read or write. Okay, and we'll look at this after.
And no skills to actually decode that word.
I was at our kinder parent-teacher conference, and that teacher wants Pepper to show off her newly found reading skills. And we come to the word mother. Now, that should never be in a book, since in this level book at all, right? Because that is not decodable for a kindergartner. It's very common in these balanced literacy texts because they're expecting you to 3Q. So she prompts her on the 3 Qs. Look at the.
Just looking at a thing real fast, I was asking or looking to see if schools were kind of pushed to switch over, and it looks like they're pulling away from it. So if there was a not great idea to switch away from a different method or switch to a new method, that would be bad, and that could have long-term effects on reading abilities. And then you compound that with COVID, and then you combine that with like tougher households. Shit. Yeah, you're going to end up with a big problem. That's not AI as the source.
Picture, look for clues in the word or around the word, and ask yourself if it.
It's like picture. What the fuck? There's never. Like, usually words don't have pictures. Like children see pictures and shit, but like you get right out of that real fast.
Makes sense. And Pepper can't do it, so we're left to decode. So I want everybody to try to sound out the word mother like a kindergartner would, right? Right? We can't blend that ever into the word mother. And that's because mother is not a decodable word for a kindergartner.
Also, in researching for this video, I realized that I think I was taught some of the 3 queuing growing up, which I guess makes sense because I'm a 90s baby, so obviously. But when I read one of the cues being skip over words and come back to it later.
Well, I was born in 88, so I guess depending upon when you were in school, you would be in high school if it was 2000s. Well, what, you'd be 10? So I guess you'd be like in 5th grade, basically middle school, in the 2000. So I don't know when this was supposed to have happened. But anyway.
It like unlocked a memory for me of struggling to read as a kid. But the short version of phonics history is that school districts were convinced of this new system on the basis that children have an inherent ability to learn reading, just like they have the ability to learn to walk and talk all on their own. And so millions of taxpayer dollars were thrown at curriculum materials for this theory of learning. And therefore, millions of children were reading on the basis of guessing words, whether they looked right or sounded right. And the problem here, as you can guess, is that they aren't actually reading, they're faking it till they make it. And teachers didn't know any better, so they just went along with the new.
Huh. Yeah, I wonder if that model of what seems like mostly guessing with mostly accurate results, especially at the early levels, where there's more clues, like when a child's book is a picture of a cat, it's easier to associate picture of cat with cat. And I know what a kitty looks like or whatever. I know the word is short. Like instead of just using the actual word, they use those other clues. But I guess every kid gets to use those same clues, whether they're phonics or not. But data could have been poorly collected, but easily corrupted by, gee whiz, it sure looks like it's fucking awesome. Let's do it. And then like a public-private partnership where, look, we are designed to, as consultants to find a way to fix the American education system. So we're going to find some flashy new thing to, we need to find a solution to this. We need to find a new product for this solution. And then all those companies that produced workbooks and shit now need to then pump out new material or whatever. Ooh, I could see how that could fuck things up.
new style and were told that it was going to make reading fun and easy for kids. Margaret Goldberg, a teacher in the Oakland Unified School District, was with a first grader named Rodney when he came to a page with a picture of a girl licking an ice cream cone and a dog licking a bone. The text said, "My little dog likes to eat with me." But Rodney said, "My dog likes to lick his bone." Rodney breezed right through it, unaware that he hadn't read the sentence on the page. Goldberg realized lots of her students couldn't actually read the words in their books. Instead, they were memorizing sentence patterns and using the pictures to guess. One little boy
Bro, they are AI. That is what an AI does. Is like, yeah, predictive completion. Simple as.
exclaimed, "I can read this book with my eyes shut." Oh no, Goldberg thought, that is not reading. So, big problem. And the reason why kids aren't proficient readers, because when they grew up and grew out of picture books, they didn't have the skill set to decode new words. There is some good news.
Also, they didn't do it right in the first place.
At the end of this, though, as the tides are turning, we're now seeing the return of phonics curriculum, as at least 14 states have banned.
Back in my day, we were hooked on phonics. I remember those fucking ads played at every fucking thing.
3Qing from parts of the education system over the last few years. But we do still have to deal with the consequences of 2 generations being brought up on the 3Qing system. As before, I will link the Sold Story podcast, which tells the whole story of the phonics phenomenon, but in...
Yeah, I just want to look up, when did 3Qing start or become adopted? Hooked on phonics, yeah. Ha ha, you can't read. Core memory. There was, not to give away my secrets, but there was a very specific commercial from our childhood that at one point when I was not sure if I was actually talking to my brother because it was through some weird texting thing asking for money. I was like, what is something only my brother would know? And then he told me something related to that. And I was like, oh, you're him. You're absolutely him. Or if not, you deserve this, Hey, looks like my mom's tuning in from YouTube. Yo, have you ever heard of 3Qing, which is a form of thing? So teaching kids how to read, but it turns out it wasn't very good. The 3Qing system is a model for teaching and reading that encourages students to use the meaning, semantics, blah, blah, blah. Developed by Ken Goodman, more like Badman, am I right? And Frank Smith, more like Frank Shit in the 1960s, based on their theories, blah, 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 blah. When did it get adopted? Like, was it just a state? Was it the entire United States? So that's going to move the shift away, but when did it get adopted? These things. The Tale of 3Qing. Oh my God, it's a fucking PDF. I can't read this. Adopt. Outlaw the use of every model, theory, or approach to reading. Only one time the word adopt began. Everyone in the colonies was British before the war began. God damn, this is going fucking way back. Okay, well, you know what? We'll figure that out another time.
A true crime style. It's super fun to listen to, and I would highly recommend. On to math. From what I can see, there aren't any deep-rooted educational malpractices that are harming kids' math skills, but the fact still remains that math proficiencies have been decreasing. The most prominent reason for this, of course, was COVID. Average scores for age 9 students in 2022 declined 5 points in reading and 7 points in mathematics compared to 2020. This is the largest average score decline in reading since 1990, and the first ever score decline in mathematics.
Oh, wow, it's crazy. We'd never really declined in mathematics before. I wonder what happened in 1990 for the first decline. I wonder if that was when they started the fucking 3 queuing system.
And while this was just a 2-year problem of children
But then I guess that would have kept going though. So.
learning from home and not getting the math comprehension and help that they needed to get through it, the effects are serious and long lasting. This is again because of the compounding effect of losing your basic math skills. These missed skills just grow bigger and bigger as the kids get older. But we can't just blame these poor math scores on one singular antagonist in the story. No, that would be too easy, because this is a complex issue that includes environmental and attitude issues from the children themselves.
Blaming the attitude of the children feels like anecdotal and not super useful. I mean, I guess if there's some real quantifiable way to somehow try to really be like, man, these kids are assholes now. Like, it's just, how can you say that on such a broad scale across such a large, what I assume is the American system specifically? It just seems, yeah, no, it is the children who are wrong. But she's hit that angle a couple of times. But yeah.
So let's talk about how kids are sabotaging their own education. For one, kids just don't think school is important anymore.
I mean, I did it for a grade, so that way I could get a college degree. It was a very long process to get there, and learning basic skills and whatever along the way is also good. No, it is the children who are wrong.
In a world where they see millennials struggling to get jobs with their degrees in hand,
I think you're, yeah. I think your original deduction that the idea of blaming it on AI, whatever, is a bit of a fear-mongering thing, which this has done a good job of doing a better analysis of, at least for the reading part, for sure, because I hadn't gotten to the math part yet. But there's been other things that have impacted reading long before the AI problem, right? College is impossible and school teaches you nothing. Well, it teaches you how to read, in theory, and teaches you basic math so that way you can get a job as a cashier. I mean, there's been the critique that the school system teaches quiet factory workers. You have to have a good conduct grade. You need to have, very limited use of arts and sciences and mostly just simple skills, and a little bit of driver's ed is like the only like outside the box thinking that they could offer. Not that he wasn't required, at least not in my area specifically. All kinds of stuff. There's definitely that's a huge topic of, because I've heard some people, obviously be like, there's not even a class on like paying your taxes and buying insurance and doing stuff, things that you could use. But then also people who are negative towards that, because that literally just teaches you to be a worker bee. It literally just teaches you, like, giving you the critical thinking skills beyond to tackle any problem, I guess, could also be the goal, if not a better goal, depending upon how you see it working out.
the major layoffs in tech jobs that were
Not that I specifically feel that. I mean, it was a long period of time that had lots of different layers, including my personal life as well as the school life. But I do feel like I've, to some degree, my public education is definitely, missed the mark in a lot of ways. And it has taught me the wrong thing in a lot of ways. But the most famous one for me being that states' rights was the reason for the Civil War. Like that was not a good one. That was a bad one. Our history teacher made us stand up in class and one by one answered his question of what caused the Civil War. States' rights. What caused the Civil War? And went down the line, every single person. And like he would like, oh yeah, only the idiots, the simple-minded fools think it's as easy as just saying slavery. Ugh, scoffed. And me wanting to be the little brainiac, smart kid, not necessarily teacher's pet, but just like a knowledge retainer and then a knowledge regurgitator, because that's kind of like you did well and you were patted on the head and you got good snacks and your parents didn't ground you if you got good grades, and then the teachers were happy with you and society was happy with you if you got good grades. So you just do that. Hey, that was my teacher. And that was the same teacher that we had when it was 9/11. So that would be 8th grade. That was when we had our American history class specifically to cover the America eras. And he gave us that assignment of, you're living through history right now. You need to create this gigantic like scrapbook journal thing of everything that's happening. So it was just a scrapbook of pure Islamophobia, like 100,000%. Which also, I mean, like the goal of like documenting history, not a terrible thing from a history teacher, right? Like honestly, it's not like on its face a bad idea to have at the start, right? You're just some fucking public school middle school teacher, you know, ultimately how important, whatever. But oof, yeah. And because my mom was the one doing basically all of that behind the scenes and gathering the shit for me and watching the news stories and shit, it kind of cooked her brain a little bit. She's, you know, she remembers. She was not mentally well. I forget how long that, it was like a month or something. It was something crazy.
Supposed to be the largest growing and highest paying field in decades to come, and the growing reality that higher education doesn't always lead to the American dream. It's no wonder why students question whether it's worth the effort.
The kids of today are not motivated at all. Even doing a fun book study, like they don't care. What's worse about not caring about their work is they don't care about consequences. They don't care if they get in trouble. They don't care if they get in school suspension. They don't care if you call their parents. How do you...
But that still seems like it's one classroom in one city. Anecdotal, difficult to say on a systemic level when you're just showing a TikTok explaining it. Because there also could be a TikTok being like, man, my kids are angels. I love them. They're all so nice. There could be, you know, whether or not you're finding those, whether or not they're going viral, because engagement algorithms work off of grr, you know.
Battle that. You can't. It's like you're fighting against a unmovable wall. It's just so draining and disheartening when you're putting your heart and soul into something for like hardly any care. Like you can focus on the kids that care, but man.
But I don't believe that these ideas of school not preparing you for the real world are the only reasons students...
No one cares, because why the fuck would they? Even as a well-doing kid, I did not care. But as I got more of a personality and stuff through the end of middle school and high school, because like in young school, you know, elementary school, I cared because you were still a larva, you know? I remember seeing people in 6th grade. I went to a magnet school in 7th grade and came back in 8th grade. And that's when like so many people, I guess because of puberty as well, just kind of became themselves so much more. I left them in 6th grade. They're like a teacher's pet, clean, wearing bright colors, come back in 8th grade, and they're like wearing gigantic pants, chains, black, everything, you know, long hair, metal. They're into, you know, it's a whole different flip. Like people had just finally, you know, all of a sudden just became I don't know when it happened during 7th grade, or if it happened in the summer into 8th grade. I have no idea. But I missed a whole year with this sort of pod of people, and I came back to it, and it's just like, whoa. Holy crap. There's no positive outcome. I mean, I guess depending upon, like, if it's elementary school students, I don't think they can even understand that there's no positive outcome. You're not going to be successful as the previous generation as you had before. And, you know, the rent prices are going up. They don't know any of that. But they could be, I don't even know what grade they were referring to in that particular TikTok. But and each sector and each zip code, because that's one of the things that, at least prior to new world order or new situation, the number one identifier to your success in life was just what zip code you were born in, I believe, specifically. Just because usually the one you're born in is the one that you also will go to school in, and also the one, you know, whatever. They could also sense it from they could sense it from things. I don't know how news media, because like kids media is Nickelodeon and, you know, whatever, but maybe they're getting Alex Jones TikToks. It's possible, I suppose. I don't think so on the mass scale. But again, what age are we talking, right? I do think that there's definitely plenty of sectors where people will be disenfranchised, especially in the poorer sections, especially in the black and brown sectors. You know what I mean? Is infiltrating YouTube kids. They got the PragerU kids, but that paints a positive world that is conservative and biased. But yeah, I don't know if they have like these immigrants are infecting our bloodlines. Like, oh no, I don't know if they have videos that are still like they know shit's fucked out there. Maybe. I mean, I know my friend's kid who's still not in school yet, but you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing. I mean, not his fault, but like, you don't know what rent is.
Are losing ambition rather.
But sure, yeah. I mean, I wonder. It just feels so individual. It feels so specific because like rich kids won't feel like the world is not helping you good or whatever. They would feel still insulated. They're still going to vacations. They're still doing shit. But in poor neighborhoods, they'd be feeling it more and more, and their parents would be more and more distant or more stressed and more, like, again, on a macro scale. They would, I imagine, it does make sense, especially after post-COVID and stuff. The stress levels and the doomerism of the overall generation is more pessimistic. I could see that for sure. Yeah, that's unusual. Probably, I mean, maybe it didn't draw attention and no one cared, but anecdotal technically, but still, yes. I mean, I think I'm leaning back towards Happy Goat's point of view. It seemed too drastic and pessimistic, but again, on the macro scale, more and more people are feeling disenfranchised as a family, which is then causing stresses and negativity to happen, even if they can't quantify it, right? Because it's kind of like even like kids post like really traumatic situations, they kind of lock up and they forget it, but it still impacts them on like a core level, on some of their like their subconscious, if you will, or whatever. So that could manifest itself in a systemic or noticeable way across the board.
Rather, they reinforce the mindset of those who are already struggling and offer a convenient justification for why they don't need to push through and fight to succeed in school. Because it's not just math and reading comprehension that are falling short, but their confidence and sense of identity as learners are also suffering. The early years don't just build academic foundations, they shape how children see themselves in relation to learning. When students struggle early on, they often adopt the belief that they're just simply not good at school, which diminishes their motivation to.
Dude, recession indicator. There's so much B-roll of depressed children. These stock image websites are flooding the market with the need for all these kid wearing backpack, shaking his head, sad, child working on a workbook in a school binder, completely overwhelmed. Like there's you can tell based off how many brand new pieces of stock footage are following along with the course of the planet.
Improve. As these students move up in grade levels without having mastered key reading and math skills, their confidence continues to decline, and they feel so far behind that catching up feels impossible. Student test scores, even starting in first, second, and third grade, are really quite predictive of their success later in school and their education trajectories overall. Being so far behind could lead to disengagement in school, making it less likely they graduate from high school or attend college. And to tie this back to my previous video about children growing up fragile with no grit to push through hard things, they tend to just sink into this identity of being bad in school. And once that mindset takes hold, it becomes incredibly difficult to.
We have too many fucking bullshit fake stories of like, I'm Bill Gates, I dropped out of school, and I'm the person that your dad thinks is a pedophile implanting chips in his brain. But I'm also rich and powerful. I'm whatever, Jeff Bezos, and I, quit my job and started a thing in a garage, and now I'm making rockets to send Katy Perry up or whatever the fuck it is. It's just like, or they could sit in a chair and. Didn't Bill Gates go to Harvard? I don't know if he graduated. So I guess he dropped. I thought his famous thing was that he dropped out or whatever. He didn't finish.
will pull them out of it. But to get further into the mind of a teenager, a scary thought, I know, but there are a lot of mental setbacks leading to children's struggles as well. Among adolescents aged 12 to 17, the percentage who received mental health services
Yeah, at 73, he enrolled, he took classes, but he dropped out in 75.
in specialty mental health setting in the past.
Kids are weak. It's not the system's at fault. They should pull them up some of their bootstraps. I don't think that's the message that they're doing, but I could see how people could. I could see how the conservative message is to do that specifically. Here, let me back it up to make sure.
Into the mind of a teenager, a scary thought, I know, but there are a lot of mental setbacks leading to children's struggles as well. Among adolescents aged 12 to 17, the percentage who received mental health services in specialty mental health setting in the past year increased from 11.8% in 2002 to 16.7% in 2019. And the idea.
But again, us being more aware of mental health issues just means that people, like, seeing a spike like that does not mean that, oh shit, now these kids are like woke and concerned about like whatever it is. It's just that before we go, mental health, gross, what's wrong with you? They literally just said the kids are weak.
Idea of kids' mental health deteriorating has had some pushback because it could just be that there's more reporting and diagnoses of mental health problems, because there are.
That's what I was going
but there's
with.
also strong evidence that things like social media are doing immense damage on children's mental health.
It's the gist that I'm getting from at least the presenter, if not me, the individual quotes they pull from different articles, whatever, is one thing. But at least the message coming from this is not so much the kids' fault, but there's just things happening to the kids before the mental health part. Oh, okay. I mean, I had television growing up. It's like you blame TikTok. It was like I had television, right? That was like the thing. And everyone's like, TV's going to rot your brain. And now it's TikTok's going to rot your brain. Or it's, whatever it is. It's easy to fall into that thing. Not that the thing is wrong, but it's just like double checking that we're not just knee jerking.
Children and adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk of mental health problems, including
compared to those that don't, I assume, is what they're getting with.
Experiencing symptoms of depression and anxiety. And these mental health challenges, of course, play a role in how motivated and capable a child.
I do remember a lot of those different studies coming out because the algorithms in a post-mortem were designed to deal with certain human emotions more than others, and that would increase engagement, which would retain eyes on it, which was the overall goal, despite the negative emotions that it would impart onto people, especially back when it was a bit more in its heyday. Had more safeguards in place, and different parent groups approving programming, etc. I mean, I guess there is technically people approving things or not approving things versus self-publishing places, right? That makes sense to some degree, but I mean, just the overall idea that TV will make you into a drooling fool. Sit them in front of the babysitter, right? Like that was always like the derogatory term for the television. Turn the TV off, make them go outside, make them read, make them do things. Generation TV was, I guess, to not maybe a little bit of Gen X, but I guess technically more of the millennials, just because there was less television around, depending on how far back you go, or there was less channels and no cable and whatever, because there was kind of like the golden age of cable television where even lower economics families could still have some kind of cable for whatever reason, because sometimes they were bundled in even inside of like apartment complexes and stuff. Remember that was still around when I was renting apartments. It's tough because there's always been these generational changes that I come from not a I guess it's more of I come from a defensive posture And is that just because I want to be contrarian to those of my age group or older that do what I see as a normal pushback that happens all the time? Because I understand how even the current systems that we have and the metrics that we have, them showing change doesn't always mean that it's as bad as what they're showing, because the world's an evolving and changing place. Like, but specific data about like, okay, these kids had phones, these kids didn't. They're the same age in the same sector or whatever. You know, broken down for different demographics, than proper, sample size things. And this one had the thing, and this one didn't. But we're both in the era where that matters. But it's like, which families have unattended, undisciplined children versus ones that do or don't? And is it specifically, it's difficult to have like the control be very specifically only one layer of it. But again, that's just me finding a way to go, aha, I'm smarter because I found a reason that it's wrong. And it's just like, it's still an indicator, right? You can upload complete kid brain rot on YouTube Kids. That's just meaningless, which is essentially kid friendly, but it means it's steal their attention spans. Yeah. But you could also sit in front of Rocco's Modern Life and watch Choky Chicken and fart jokes all day long, and it doesn't really teach you anything other than fart jokes, I guess. It's more responsible for communists in the past 80 years than anything else. Of course, people have a problem with it. And you don't even like TikTok. Well, that was one of the reasons that people thought that there was a sudden like, oh shit, we got to ban TikTok, because it was like making the kids not like Israel, right? That was like one of the things. It was like, wait, all of a sudden there's this gigantic support for Palestine. Like, what the hell? Whoa, 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 whoa. We got to stop that. And then also anti-capitalist sentiment and all these different things that people were embracing through irony and doomerism, but then also a bit of activism and a bit of like, based takes and things. Is that the exact reason? There was also xenophobia. They go, oh, these damn Chinese are stealing data. And Mark Zuckerberg wants all that data instead. Let him buy TikTok and we can just, pretend this never happened, So the exact, what was motivating the powers that be, probably a little bit of everything. And it's really hard to pin it down specifically, but yeah. It makes sense that would have been one of, if not the major contributing factor.
Child is in the classroom. And this is where finally technology enters the conversation. Because on top of the mental health problems that modern technology brings, these screens are also turning our children into goldfish with non-existent attention spans.
These kids get bored.
Whoa. Just to think back on that last part, kids that watch TikTok are now depressed. But it's almost like kids on TikTok learn about depression and go, oh shit, I'm depressed. Where kids not on TikTok go, man, life's weird. Right? When they don't know that they're depressed. So it kind of reminds me of when I started actually paying attention, like, wait, I do have anxiety. I thought I didn't. I thought I straight up did not have it. And then I was able to get medicine, and then, wow, now I have anti-anxiety medicine, and these things that used to happen to me all the time that would like cause me physical pain no longer do that. Wow, what a difference. There's no need to read. Books are an artificial invention. True. I don't see the word book one spot in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, the priests would read the Bible to you, and that was what they wanted. That was the way it was supposed to be. All this damn literacy meant that people could like question the priests. No. We don't like that.
Bored very easily. And the moment they get bored, they look to stimulate themselves or to do something that makes them feel interested. And that is very regularly not good choices.
The constant notifications and multitasking habits prevent students from fully engaging with learning materials, resulting in weaker memory retention. As research indicates, frequent switching between tasks, such as checking social media while studying, hampers the formation of strong long-term memories. Many teachers have come forth and said that kids can't pay attention anymore because they're so
So even if it's not like a chemical ADHD, it's just like a behavioral learned ADHD to some degree. I can see that being a habit that you get yourself into a rut, and then it makes it difficult to then not do that. And the current and long term, the long standing educational environment is not based on that style. So it's too sudden of a change of behavior for a large number of people. Habit forming swiping, yeah. Make sure to watch just long enough to get that engagement in, and next. Don't even bother finishing it. Banning Coco Melon. I've seen it around a bit, and it's kind of like, whoa. But then again, like, there was the Wiggles, right? There's always some form of insanity. But then there's also, like, the Spider-Man Elsa stuff that's out there. That's just like, wait a second. And then I've seen some other weird AI things that are out there that are generated for children, and it just looks upsetting. So I'm sure there's a new generation, and with the mass uploading that's happening, I can imagine there's lots of still safe looking at first, but upon any kind of actual like review, look disturbing. You grew up reading Trump's tweets. He's been tweeting for a while, so technically it's possible. The generation that grew up watching, Ren and Stimpy and SpongeBob complaining about TikToks make themselves fucking stupid. Yeah. But that's kind of what I'm getting at a little bit, is that people are forming somewhat of an ADHD style habit without, actually having the chemical imbalance. But then like the to sit here for 50 minutes and pay attention to this teacher, they don't gel well. And is that the fault of the kid, or is that the fault of the school system? School system would be a very slow moving ship that apparently can move very fast on this non-phonics based reading method, but then at other times it can't go. News segments about ISIS. Kids make themselves. Oh, the TikToks the kids make themselves. I see what you're saying. Because the kids are making TikToks. Depending on the age, yeah. I mean, I don't think like children making TikToks. How Caliu lasted as long as it did. That show is from when I found the Attorney of Awful Kid show. Remember them? Thinking back, I don't remember too many ISIS segments, but I remember there being like on the early internet ISIS beheading videos. I never watched any, but I knew they existed, and I knew I could watch them. But I thankfully just kind of knew like that's a darkness that will be difficult to ever unsee. Ooh. I feel like those shouldn't be on Nickelodeon. Oh, this little kid? Is this a bad show? It seems like a normal show. This is not the like I lost faith in humanity type of shit that I was thinking about.
Accustomed to short form content, and anything longer, they check out or doze off.
Every teacher is looking for a way to keep their Gen Alpha kids engaged in their lessons. Traditional teaching methods do not work. Most of
soap cutting video on the side, right? That's the joke from a long time ago. That show taught kids that throwing tantrum was okay. I assume that show did not teach that, but maybe it did.
of them are consuming video games and short form content, so why not teach like that? Watch how I take a regularly boring and tough to explain topic and convert it into a captivating short form video in minutes. All I had to do was type in a 3-sentence prompt and gave it some simple instructions on the format and the type of voice I wanted. Press generate.
Imagine you had a superpower that made you weigh less. Sounds amazing, right? Okay, here's the scoop. Your mass is like the amount of stuff you're made of, and it never changes.
Speaking of dozing off, though, as previously mentioned again, kids aren't getting enough sleep with their unregulated screen time, and so they don't have the ability to learn.
Peppa Pig, and there's Bluey. That's another show now, but it's not. I've seen some Bluey. Episode the main character pinched his infant sister's face, and he barely gets punished for it. I mean, just looking at when I Googled it, it has a very low star rating, and people are saying it's bad just from this one thing specifically. But 4-year-old, it aired in 1997 and stopped in 2011. So it's definitely not even like a new TV show. That would be a show that would be like a little after my time, but not the new generations. That's like around Little Bill era.
Learn in class when they're literally fighting sleep the whole lesson. Education is so messy right now.
I thought I hated technology because kids were iPad kids growing up and they just have too much access to games and entertainment, and they don't want to use technology for education. They want to use it for entertainment. And to a degree that is true, but what I am learning is more than that, and that technology is directly contributing to the literacy decrease we are seeing in this country right now. A lot of these kids don't know how to read because they have had things read to them, or they can click a button and have something read out loud to them in seconds. Their attention spans are waning because everything is high stimulation. They can just scroll, watch less than a minute. They can't sit still for very long.
I'm literally shaking my legs right now as she's saying all this.
Something I've realized is, like, on a day, I know when I was their age, I thought movie days were a treat. I loved movie days. It was a way to relax, kind of take a break. And for them, what they mean when they say they want a movie is they want a movie on in the background for the noise while they scroll on their phones, put their headphones in and look at TikTok and maybe talk to their friends and not pay attention to anything.
And the combination of all of that.
That also sounds good. I've done that same damage to myself in my man boy phase specifically, where I will have a Twitch stream on while I'm playing a video game, or and then a conversation with Kara at the same time, as which just means I just end up doing almost all of it worse to some degree. Usually I'll try and focus on the one thing, but I like having something. There's a bit of I guess it's more of a FOMO situation. Like, I don't know. I hope I'm a phone out of view for Kara while she's at work or whatever. And then second monitor for most people. Yeah. Yeah. Depending upon what it is. I mean, I never had the option to pull out a phone or whatever it was back then. So you're playing a game. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's tough. You only focus on one thing at a time. Sure. Yeah. And chatting will be a thing that'll take away some attention. Feel free not to chat if you don't want to. Although after this video, where I'm going to play the thing, because I guess a spoiler, this kind of leads into the video that I had seen from a different person who shared it to me. And I'm like, egads. And I was telling Kara, like, it's Jover. So I'm excited to show that next.
Means that kids are dealing with long-term memory issues. And you know what subject suffers the most from that? Math. Because every year's skills stack upon the previous, and if you can't remember it, then you're stuck falling behind. The constant information overload from kids' phones and social media is brutal on the working memory. And
You gotta embrace it. You gotta hit them with that fast form learning format. That way they can embrace it and hit it on the fast to practice layers in that fast format. Which sounds like the most guidance counselor who's like fun to be around kind of way to try to let's TikTokify our quizzes. Let's do it. Swipe left for true, right for false. Or I don't know which way is the right way to swipe. I think it's more of a dating app thing other than up and down, I guess.
in school. The brain just can't handle so much information at once, and when it's always being fed new information, it's hard to store everything and differentiate between what's important to keep and what's not.
Have you ever felt like your memory just isn't as sharp after spending hours scrolling on social media? That's not your imagination, and there's actual science behind this. So let me explain. Research has found that people who frequently multitask with digital media have reduced sustained attention and working memory. And social media constantly bombards your brain with quick, ever-changing information and training it to crave instant gratification instead of deep focus. And when you rapidly switch between posts, videos, and notifications, you're not fully engaging with any one thing. So your brain doesn't encode it properly.
Does anybody really flip between notifications? Like if you get, oh, I got an email, you're like, whatever, shut up. You'll notice that you got an email, but it's not like, oh, email, my most important thing in my life right now. Egads, the video is continuing to go. Now that's more important. I don't feel like it's that much of a ping pong back and forth. To some degree, for sure, they definitely are. Because I feel like this lady is coming from a teacher's perspective or in a teaching focused point of view. And although teachers also often acknowledge that, yeah, these standardized tests are limited and not great.
Into memory.
Harvard psychologist Daniel Schachter said that while technology can aid in certain cognitive functions, it can also impair our ability to recall information.
Right. But it can aid in cognitive functions. So it's just about balancing it. This hammer, sure, it can aid in driving down nails, but it can also impact my thumb and really hurt my thumb. And you're like, let's ban hammers. You know, like, no.
Schachter explains that when students frequently shift their focus between tasks, such as checking their phones while studying, they don't fully engage with the material. This makes it harder for students to form long-term memories. Additionally, students depend on technology to help them remember more than their own memory.
I feel like that honestly makes sense. That last sentence. Depend on technology to help them remember more than their memory. I remember being like, dates don't mean shit to me. I really struggled with names and dates just because those things never really sat well in my mind. And this is prior to phones. But it's one of those things that, like, I knew that I could always just look it up if I had to. So it's one of those, like, get the core ideas and some minor details can, or very specific details can fall away. People checking their phones while studying, it's possible. Doing that default centrist thing that I go for was like finding the shared ability in their sentence, but then also coming back to my own version of it. So if somebody was looking for a reason to be distracted by stuff, because like there was an era where I would go home and do stuff. Oh, hello. And then there was also an era where like I would just sit there and do anything other than the task at hand. I would like take my pencil and scrape the dining room table in like a groove to get all like the dirt out of it. Just because I'm so bored, it's something to do. And I would just sit there and do that for hours. And I would end up after dinner having to then still sit there and do my homework, whatever it is, even though like school got out at like fucking 2:30 p.m., whatever, when you're a little kid. So there's times where I was locked in good and there's times where I was not, phones notwithstanding. So if I had a phone to look at, instead of me scraping my graphite along the dining room table, I would have looked at the phone, but I wouldn't have been like, if it's like, oh, an email, I wouldn't have cared if I had an email or not. It would just be something to look at specifically. Yes, right. Yeah, I saw that before. Socrates lamented the invention of writing, thinking it made us dumber. It's a tale all the time. It sure is, yeah. I do think that there could be, the same way a hammer could hit you in the thumb and hurt you, there's a way to use the tool properly, and there's also a way to use the tool negatively. Creating good habits around students with their devices, whatever it is. Because if they are looking so intently and deeply into their notifications, we should probably just let them go. Like, yeah, you can let some things stack up. If you're waiting for like, oh God, mom says that, you know, when she's on her way home, I need to put the fucking chicken out into the sink so that way it can defrost. Like, you're waiting for that one message and you look at a notification to see if it's that one message and then otherwise go back to what you're doing. That's a normal way to do it, not letting it completely, you know, loop you or whatever. So just getting them the proper training and or tools to utilize their tools and training properly. On a macro scale, will that happen flawlessly as new things develop? No. And new things had rapidly developed in a time period, especially with so many other factors, that you're going to have a compounding depression, whether it's an economic depression sometimes when political systems go crazy, and then you're going to have an educational, you know, depression in this situation, especially with the metrics that we measure them with are also imperfect. So, yeah.
And so if we're looking at whether or not technology has been bad for kids in their journey through school, I think there's definitely something to be said about not using it too early on to prevent overstimulation in like the elementary years. But if the claim is that technology is overall bad and that laptops in the classroom are harmful, I don't think that's true. The real problem here is the use of technology outside of the classroom that's limiting the kids' ability to learn. Okay, but what...
And hopefully by that, she means not giving them the proper tools and just letting them use it in a way that could be improper habit forming instead of proper habit forming, which I guess is true with any new thing specifically.
Really throws a curveball in all of this is the rise...
It is interesting, though, how fast she's like, no. They need laptops in the classroom. It's at home. That's the problem. I guess if she trusts that, assuming that she's from an education background again, it's assuming that it's being taught properly to be used in the classroom, because if it's a really old and archaic model, it wouldn't know how to properly do that. But I guess that's the trust of the individual teachers at that point.
Of AI in schools, because as much as many teachers want to avoid it, there's no way around students using AI. So how on earth do we navigate this? And what are the...
That's a tough one. This is one that's like, I look from afar and go, ooh, because I know I would have fucking used it and I would have lied my ass off and done my best to hide how much I used it. So good luck. I don't know, man. And I also feel like if I use it today, it's bad for me. So I'm like, at least in the way that is the most lazy way to use something like this. So again, I'm like, oh, look out.
Moving forward. Well, the main problem we've been seeing since 2023, when ChatGPT went live to the public, was, as we know, high school students are straight up using it to do their homework for them. And since then, things have only gotten worse because obviously kids will opt for not doing work if they can. The share of teens who say they use ChatGPT for their schoolwork has risen to 26%, according to a Pew Research Center survey of US teens ages 13 to 17. That's up 13% from 2023. And while this is a big problem, the weirdest part of it, I find anyways, is that college students are doing this, which like, I guess makes sense. But my problem is like, why are you paying for an education that...
Paying for a piece of paper. Silly. Paying for the accreditation
you're not learning anything from? Like, it makes more sense why high school students would do it to just get out of their work. But you go...
Oh, you had to get Chromebooks at school? That's crazy. You had to sit through a whole lecture about taking care of the tech. They didn't care what you use it for, but at school, we should only use them for school stuff. I guess depends upon, I can see some personal reasons, like, you know, how to build a bomb. They would go, okay, hold on. Wait a minute. We didn't want to say don't Google how to build a bomb, but like, don't do that. I was trying to avoid that specific topic, but yeah, they don't want to be like, look, don't type in bubes, but now that you have, don't type in bubes, please. Okay.
Go to university to learn a certain skill set and use it in the real world, ideally.
But in terms of like using it to cheat in college, I work in higher ed, and I just want to say, like, wither half-ass your work. That's the time-honored tradition of college. Do your own work badly. Do a shit job. Half-ass it. Learning to half-ass things is such an important life skill. And your professors want to see that. Like, they want to see your insane 2 a.m. Adderalled up brain.
Well, okay. So that was a thing that I missed out on, is how in my, batch of schooling, so this is high school class of 2006 into college years of, 7 to 5 years after that, was how prevalent, because like I grew up in like a middle class area, not like a rich area. Gaither High School was not the rich high school or whatever it is, but there were kids outside the SATs because you would sign up to do SATs. I thought I was doing exercise. Egads. I'm just reading, okay? Shit. I hate these. I wish I could deprogram it from thinking that I'm doing stuff like this. Anyway, I'd be outside the SATs waiting to get in, because you pay to take a test outside of class. And there's kids buying and selling Adderall like as like a drug deal happening right outside. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I didn't even know this was possible. It was like Ritalin back then. I don't even think it was Adderall. But it was just like, oh shit, like this is performance enhancing drugs. This is back when Mark McGuire and shit was still like in the zeitgeist. I was like, we gotta have a piss test. They're doing steroids for the brain. What the fuck? And I guess like if they didn't have ADHD, it was just making them high, which I mean, I don't know. There's always this joke that like Adderall makes kids or makes people, tweaked out and go for it, but it's crazy.
Working,
The fact that she's like, the teachers want to see you drugged up. I was like, well, I don't know.
Like, that's part of college, is turning in shit that makes absolutely no sense.
So you're really just wasting your money on classes you're learning nothing from, and then you'll enter the workforce with...
I mean, technically to some degree, you're going to learn a lot of nothing in school. The gen ed requirements... You're taking a philosophy like 101 and never going deeper with it. You're, doing a lit class, even though you're going to end up being a business major, and you have no real connection to the material and no actual passion for it. Like, there's going to be a lot of that crap that ends up flushed. Now, it still gives you, technically, the gen ed means like, look, they could show up on time most of the time, and they could actually, follow instructions, even if it's things that don't interest them. Like that's supposed to be, I guess, like the value of having a general education instead of like a technical school degree or something. But it's only valuable for whatever university that it is ultimately. Like, it's all that really comes down. That's how my generation saw it, because everyone would crack the whip and say, you have to go to school. You won't make any money if you don't go to school, if you don't go to college. You're a dumbass if you don't go to college. There are all these scholarships you need to apply for. You're a dumbass if you don't do it. Everyone will hate you. Your parents won't love you. It was just this nonstop, like, every teacher, every like speaker that would come in, every television show, every commercial, it was just nonstop. And you're like, fine, I'll do it. Just because I have to, right?
No capacity to comprehend or act on the job.
No drug issues at your school, but you did have a group of students that made a fortune from soda machine. Wait, like that busted it open?
Jobs requirements?
It was a lot of guilt tripping, yeah.
What is going on? It's a very interesting phenomenon that we'll see play out more in the next 5 years. However, some teachers have accepted the reality of AI as just another tool in our tool belts. Many compare it to calculators not being allowed in math class because...
I mean, when half these, hell, probably even more, end up as cubicle jockeys, whatever it is, they're all going to use the same AI to format their bullshit emails. It's going to suck when a bunch of young journalists, to just make their things AMA formatted, they're throwing it into AI, and or the AI is already formatting everything and they just Mad Lib fill in facts if they even gather any, you know what I mean? I could see some downward spiral of the slop becoming normalized in more forms. Even YouTube comments, sometimes you'll see a YouTube comment that's very clearly AI generated, and you're like, ew, why is that here? Why would you do that? Why would you let AI write the comment for you? What the fuck? Huh? Why? It's a YouTube comment. Why? Why?
We were expected to memorize and master those skills, but once we entered the real world with constant access to these tools on our phones, we found the memorization unnecessary. But people have been saying the same thing with AI, that kids shouldn't have to learn how to research for a paper because in the new world of AI, that's a dead skill.
It does mean we have to change how we test for knowledge. If a student can use ChatGPT to write an essay and get a B, we need to test for that knowledge in new ways. And it doesn't mean writing goes away, right? The calculator doesn't mean we stop teaching math. We got to test for a lot harder concepts in math as a result.
But the problem with this argument is that AI, or at least the current version of AI that we have, isn't as cut and dry of a tool as a calculator is, because it still has so many issues.
I, to some degree, definitely agree with where Kara's coming from. Some of the, I guess, like, in the same way as a tool, you would feel a little weird if somebody was constantly using a calculator in public for what seems like remedial purposes, and you'd be worried about them. The system doesn't need to change. It's the kids. Yeah, she is kind of going with that, right? Because that talk show person was like, hey, it's a new world. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. We've been here before with different technology, and it's important for us to make progress with it because it's not going away, and we can either make strides or sit in shit with it, right? And she's like, wow.
And giving false information. So if children are taking what it says in blind faith, then they're not only not learning critical thinking skills, they're also just plain wrong. As said here, today's AI bots are based on complex mathematical systems that learn their skills by analyzing enormous amounts of digital data. They do not and cannot decide what's true and what is false. Sometimes they just make stuff up, a phenomenon some AI researchers call hallucinations. On one test, the hallucination rate of newer AI systems were as high as 79%.
Probably one specific model, but still, yeah. I don't know enough because I never really used AI for math. Because like there's been like different online math helping tools. There was the Wolfgram Alpha was like a thing that can really help you with math and stuff, or you could point even a camera at a mathematical equation and then it would basically turn that image into what they assume the text is supposed to be, and then feed that into a giant online calculator that would then do it. Yeah. I mean, there is a problem with AI being wrong and dumb, which is a problem that I care a lot about because, I mean, there was definitely a point when I was trying to use it. The first things I was doing back when I was like a Ludwig style, like fun content kind of guy, I was like, oh, I want to make a game show or something. So give me facts. And then it would give me wrong facts. Like I asked it to generate a thing with an ABCD and it did. And the question was, what is the largest desert? A, Sahara, B, Gobi, and then C, Antarctic, and then D, I don't know, some other desert. And I was like, oh, crap. I almost forgot about cold deserts. The answer is C, Antarctic. They go, no, it's Sahara. I go, oh, wow. I guess the Sahara is just that big. I look it up. Boom, immediately on Google, not the AI result, but just like the largest desert is Antarctica, a cold desert. And I'm just like, oh, what the fuck? Right? That was obviously an older model, whatever, but still, the fact that they still do it. But then math systems, if they don't even use the calculator that online or the stuff on the internet would use before, the different computer systems would use before to do math, if they're just using the same kind of generative, like, look, predictive filling in the blanks based off of a billion math problems, what we're looking at here will give you a prediction of what we think it should be. That's kind of fucked. Like that's dumb because they should just use the tools that already exist that actually do the math instead of it doing this other version of it. At one point, I remember learning a little bit about how calculators actually work, and it's kind of insane what they do. And they don't, technically, to some degree, they don't actually do the true math. I think it was like the takeaway I was getting. But then it kind of rounds up to what is the right answer. So that's the whole math angle of it is like a whole, oh fuck, I don't know. And if they're saying that it still gives the wrong answers, I was like, they really shouldn't, because Wolfgang Alpha has been giving right answers for 20 years.
This is especially a problem when the students are using AI to write papers and then teachers use AI to grade said papers, because then it just becomes this self-reinforcing feedback loop where inaccuracies and misinformation perpetuate without human oversight. Like, what a freaking dystopian world we live in.
There was something about how the AI models have already gathered the majority of the best data for them, because you got to feed in a bunch of stuff for them to chew through and then to have their basis to then make future, prompts to analyze off of. So obviously there was still always going to be a lot of stuff out there, but a lot of the historical, what they consider to be the best stuff to get through, had been stuffed in first, and it's already been included. And a lot of the newer batches of stuff that they can add in are either lower quality naturally, or, and many times, sneakily have its own AI stuff built inside of it, which then creates this weird data incest where it's learning off of its own output from models prior. So then you're going to end up with these incestuous problems inside of these things that are in some ways black boxes. Hilariously, with the stuff that was happening the other day where Elon tweaks the fucking algorithm and then it starts saying insane anti-Semitic shit, insane shit, and then they try to rush and fix it, and it's just a problem, especially when one fucking insane billionaire can own an entire platform, one of the largest social media platforms out there, and then therefore one of the largest AI tools and AI that, because he has his own AI company the same way that OpenAI does or whatever. And so like if an entire, like if ChatGPT just all of a sudden became racist one day, holy fuck, right? Like that does create a, like if everyone's calculator started like typing out Nazi shit, you go, oh fuck. Like if you get that, that would not be good. Like, or if all the Texas Instrument ones specifically, but not the Casios, right? It would still be like a big whoa.
AI is just only as good as the data it's fed, and at least at this point in AI technology, if we aren't checking its sources, then we're just feeding into the hallucinations. And on the topic of using AI as a tool, many say that as long as we don't use it blindly and instead use it properly, it can be beneficial to learning. Examples being it can be used as a research tool for papers, as long as you check your references. It's great for brainstorming, learning new skills, amplifying creativity, and much more.
What is this? What is happening? She's using her stylus like a anyway. B-roll is always funny. It didn't work out good for me, but that was my first attempt at it, or first few attempts at it. And also, I'm a different person with a different brain. Didn't have good coaching or teaching on how to use it, so not saying that that's because it didn't work for me this one or two times. It's not gonna work for anyone ever. Like, those were the examples that I thought was bad for me, but I'm not opposed to people giving it a shot, you know?
They say that kids just need to not abuse it and they'll be fine. The difference lies in the intention. But I don't think that's really realistic, because history shows us that no major technological advancement has ever been used solely for good without also exposing us to its darker consequences.
I don't disagree entirely, but also that's true about everything. Every good, every nuclear fucking reactor also comes with an atom bomb, right? Like, it's like, okay, yeah. Unfortunately, that's the dark side of humanity, but we don't go back to being monkey.
Let's take the US Railroad, for example, which was arguably the most important technological advancement of US history, or at least in the 19th century. But while it revolutionized transportation and connected different regions, fostering economic growth, there also came many...
It sounds sick. I hope we kept doing it.
Many problems, like the heavy toll on the environment, as the railroad made it easy for large numbers of hunters to travel and kill millions of buffalo, and
I guess. People could travel, and then they could travel and do evil when they travel. Not really the fault of travel. That was a seed there beforehand, but okay.
Significantly impact indigenous people. And there are plenty of modern examples as
Yeah, stolen land for sure, definitely. But again, not the problem of transportation on its
well
own.
that aren't hard to come up with, like social media with its original purpose being to connect people. What a nice thought. But a nice thought is all it is because our monkey brains can't resist the algorithm that manipulates us.
There was forced labor that yeah. The government mandated experimentation. Yeah, I mean that was like kind of the birth of anti-Chinese sentiment in the United States in a lot of ways. I mean, I say birth, I do not have good historical knowledge, but like that's my understanding of the first time the Chinese, nation or this like the ethnicity kind of intersected with the line graph of the US doings. Extermination. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Both of the buffalo and of the Native Americans. I mean, honestly, those two atrocities were hand in hand, obviously, in many ways.
Into doom scrolling. To no one's surprise, smartphones aren't making us smarter, and the growing evidence suggests that young people use technology to avoid learning rather than augment it.
Am I willing to learn a small piece of trivia? Less likely because I have a smartphone. The phone is smart. It doesn't mean that I am smart in the sense that I can Google any one individual date or fact real fast to fact check it or to see what the date was when it happened. But that also means I have the ability to do those things with it. I'm not an anti-smartphone guy. And I don't want to then do my generational divide and become an anti-AI guy specifically. Although a smartphone should be used properly. It should not be a replacement for your personality or for your brain, right? Those are important things. And you could fuck up and do that. And I hope as people are parents that they would make sure that doesn't happen. But you have a mass scale, macro view, 330 million people in this country. And a lot of them are suffering in a lot of ways that are existential beyond just like, how much is my kid using their phone? And those things are going to slip through the cracks in a lot of ways. There's like wrongful and improper imprisonment and, taking away essential resources and things. So like, again, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how much the kid uses the phone is not there when they are being fired and evicted. There are problems that are right in front of us that are much bigger. And when those are getting worse and not being fixed, then you'll see downstream problems that will get worse as well. No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, as a guy who's a big train supporter, I was like, oh shit, she got smoked for trains. She's coming after the train. What's her angle here? What's her angle? I was really curious to see what it was. Environment and the Buffalo tier was one of those like, oh, that's low effort. I was really hoping for something that I could either pop off on or applaud, but it was just like, oh, okay.
When we give technologies that can be used to augment human skills, the younger people tend to see it as a technology that can
She said that, I think she was saying the genocide was bad, but she's using that genocide to then point at the AI and saying it's bad. I see what you're saying.
replace the need to learn. That's why young people are increasingly bad at skills such as math, driving, and even basic socializing. Rather than do the hard work to understand these critical skills, they just bypass them to the extent that they can with technology. They let calculators do the math, driving assist modes monitor the traffic around them, and rely more on social media for their social skills than actual in-person interaction.
I've never known anybody to use driver assist mode. Like, does that mean like the there's a person in your blind spot indicator or something like that I've never seen anybody do full self-driving or whatever. I've never seen that. That might happen in some areas or whatever, but I've never witnessed it or know anybody to tell me about them doing it. I drove my brother's car when it was new, and there was a bunch of new features that I loved, which was like adaptive cruise control. So when you're on like just super long highways, it would naturally keep however many car lengths that you set for it. So if you're going 70, or the person in front of you is going 68 to 71, the 68 to 71, like they're just doing natural like rubber banding, your car would be going 70. So eventually you would plow right through them as they slow down and lightly speed up, but not making up the ground for it. But this adaptive cruise control would notice that you're getting close to a car and just kind of like not keep going the full speed, but just keep pace with them. And if they speed up, then it allows you to speed up to your max speed or whatever it is. Lots of these different things. And then other cool things, like if they notice that they just forcibly stopped, it would also disengage and start to slow down for you, whatever. Or if they notice that you're turning into a car, they would make it a bit more resistant, but not to entirely stop you from turning in. Some things that are just really helpful and nice, especially for grueling long-term drivings. She was saying there was no genocide. She was saying there was. Saying the random hunters over... Oh, you mean like the animal genocide? And that happened to harm. Oh, right. She was she was taking away some of the direct intent or whatever it is. The mindfulness specifically, instead of it just being a happenstance that hunters were just so happy to hunt. And oh no, that hurt these Native Americans. Yeah. Yeah. It also could just be a mental blind spot that she doesn't know that. She seems... This was an interesting perspective, because to me, this is coming from a more traditional liberal and or normie, air quote, person, because they have their field of interest and they look at it. But there's a lot of external things, like when I would, if I, from a leftist perspective, would ever bring up trains in that regard, there would be so many different things that I would talk about from like a technological aspect and then a regression aspect of what we did to then work with car infrastructure or something. And then she's just like, the environment, and we were sure mean to those Native Americans, but not even like going super far with it by saying we did, a mechanized genocide before genocide was a term we had. It's genocide ignorance is what I would say as a being charitable. I don't think that she had. I would not jump to the conclusion that she has it out for those, Native Americans and wants to see them expelled from our lands or whatever. I don't think, based off of her normie style, I don't think that she has that. But I think she's missing. She doesn't understand the part of it.
This is not only a bad...
But it is interesting to see a person who has this perspective, because when you go to a parent-teacher conference, not that we would go to one because we don't have any students or we're not parents and we have no one who's being teaching. But like a person you'd be talking to in a line at a Walmart, and they're talking about this thing about how kids can't read anymore, whatever it is, and they blame the AI. You could have, where they're coming from with this type of information and how they're going to present it. And this is how they're going to see it. So even if you don't necessarily agree with it in a lot of ways, it is interesting to see where the sort of the pulse check of those individuals, and some things they have a grasp on and some things they completely don't have a grasp on.
Start to a learning revolution, but it sets a precedent that will cause them to think of technology from an entertainment and convenience perspective first, and its learning potential second, if at all. So why would we expect kids to use AI honorably when their natural instinct is to find the path of least resistance in education, or
final
ever,
thoughts,
I guess.
Okay. I think we mostly got it. So let's just see her final thoughts so we can wrap up her side of things.
So is
we're kind of just spinning our wheels.
tech good or bad for education?
Ooh, big question.
Well, we hate to hear it, but it's a bit of both. It's very much bad if you're using
Classic centrism. My default as well, so I understand.
it badly, like the effects of cell phones
Don't use badly.
On kids cannot be understated, that it's really ruining education for them. But I don't think it's bad to
A little heavy-handed. A little heavy-handed to go that far with it.
have technology in the classroom like we had it when we were in school, and there weren't any learning deficiencies at that time, right? It's just having the right technology, not the wrong technology. I also think it is important, in fact, to have technology in school because kids should get
coming back.
trained on it, because that's what
She wants it in school only, but not at home at all, which is kind of insane.
the real world is like. It just can't become a crutch. Also, I want to acknowledge that it's just really scary to be a parent right now. And I know every generation of parents says that, but like, things are so crazy. And the only thing I can hold on to is the fact that we can help guide our children through this and do the best we can to teach them the rights and wrongs of technology. As for my predictions on AI, it's just that, a prediction. Like, it's my best guess based on where we're at right now. But that can change in a year with new regulations or, of course, new advancements or setbacks. So, it's just a conversation still. But that's all I have for today. Make sure
Nothing too enlightening in the conclusion, but yeah. What a first video to come into from this perspective. Overall, I think this chat, this community specifically, is knows where we differ for sure. But so this did kind of touch on things a little bit about our system and where we're at and what it looks like right now for us. And this is a bit more economic and less directly education related, but I saw this and it made me go, what the fuck? Why bother? Right? Because we're coming from this. We're coming from this baseline. And then I left the US for China. Here's how much it costs. What a ride. All right, let me grab this, put it here, give it the old pin and put into our Discord. Let's see what they have to say.
For the typical American, there is a lot of confusion about what life is truly like in China. When I tell them how
I've had a lot of confusion growing up about what I thought about China. I imagined China was rice paddies and straw huts.
modern the cities are, people are shocked. When I tell them about how low the prices are, people are shocked. Less than $4 US for a Michelin recommended meal. The quality of
rebuffering. I guess the tab had been open for a while. So.
My lifestyle in China is much better than the quality of life
Okay, $4 bowl noodles. You know, they say Michigan recommended, so not Michelin star or whatever. Okay, whatever, you know. Yeah, that could be a good deal, good spot. Nothing too crazy, right?
Living in the U.S. My name is Elise Lightyear. I'm 35 years old, and I moved to China in 2019. I grew up in the city of Ann Arbor, Michigan. After I graduated college, I moved to New York City and lived there for 10 years. I was working in reality TV production. I was tired of working 70.
Hey, interested in living in New York City, lived in New York City, TV production background, and working in the field of, like, what? Well, I'm interested in living in New York City, visited a few times, thought it was awesome, and, you know, TV production back. Okay, what?
Hours a week for 10 years. Being in my 20s, I felt like a 50-year-old woman. I was exhausted. I was living check to check, which sucked. One day I just woke up and it just clicked that this is not the life that I want for myself. I came up with this idea that I wanted to leave New York. I moved to Beijing in 2019 and lived and taught there for 4 years. Then in 2023, I moved to Chengdu and have been in Chengdu ever since.
I've never heard of Chengdu before.
He's gonna let the duck be free. Good luck, Mr. Duck. It was really difficult to say goodbye to my family and friends because I didn't know when I would see them again. I didn't know how we would be able to communicate, and I was scared. I was scared of this 15-hour flight that I had to take.
That makes sense. Be kind of spooky to do such a big change.
I was scared about what food I was gonna eat. I was scared about this new career, about being a teacher. I was scared about making friends. But I was ready and I was excited. And I think my excitement trumped my anxiety and my scared feelings. Chengdu is maybe a place you've never heard of, but it is actually one of the biggest cities. Chengdu has a population of over 20 million people, including myself.
Population of New York City is 8.25 million as of 2023. So pretty close. Where the population of Chengdu is, as of 2020, 21 million people. Holy fuck. It's like 2.5 more, two and a third, two and like 2/3 or whatever. What the fuck? It's huge.
Currently, I'm a university teacher and I work a total of 18 hours a week, 4 days a week, and
works 18 hours a week for 4 days.
And I teach freshman first-year university students who already speak English, and I teach them essay writing. I take the subway every single day to work. It's really easy to navigate. All of the signs are in English and Chinese. All of the announcements are in English and Chinese, so it's foolproof. This round-trip subway trip cost me 2 yuan, which is 28 US cents. My current yearly salary in China is 30,000 US dollars.
So median average for America technically is around like what, 68,000, 65,000? Not age, sorry. Salary. 61,948. Less skewed by outlying numbers is that one. Yeah, because technically it's 66, but if you take some of the outliers out, it's about 61. So it's about half. So whenever they say a price based off of the income that she makes, you could still double it. So when it's 28 cents for a round trip, you're like, okay, it's 60 cents for a round trip. We were in New York and it was $2.90 per direction, not round trip, right? That's just, and that was like the New York subway, which is like the best like subway you're going to get, basically. I haven't seen the video. I think I remember you sent me something, but I don't think I watched it.
30,000 US dollars a year is poverty in America.
Yes.
But in China, I'm living large. I am upper middle class. For my 3-bedroom apartment with a balcony located downtown Chengdu, just a 5-minute.
So you're like downtown, a city that's like 2.5 times bigger than New York. So like you're that's like, you know, a Manhattan type thing, right?
Walk from the subway. My rent is $556 per month, but my
and even if you double that, it would still be like 1,100.
Job pays half of that as a benefit, which means I only pay $278
a month. So that would be 500 and 20 whatever for a 3-bedroom house
a month for my apartment. Welcome to my apartment here in Chengdu, China. None of this furniture in the apartment actually belongs to me. It belongs to my landlord.
Fully furnished apartment, by the way.
This is my living room. I love my living room. It's super cozy. I have this huge sectional couch that I just come to lay on all of the time. Bought myself a projector. I've got Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, all of the channels.
Yeah, you're going back to the previous thing. The racism of ignorance is just as dangerous as racism of malice, and far more common. It is more common, and it's dangerous in a, like, I guess, like a warm blanket kind of way, because it's easy to forget, or it's easy to ignore, right? Or to be left out. But I mean, I feel like malice is worse. But I get what you're saying. I'm debating the semantics at this point. In the end, it's still the same thing, right? It's still erasure when it comes down to the messaging in these type of videos. Specifically, hating a different group of people is definitely a dangerous situation in other ways. But when it comes to the practice of, like, it manifesting itself in media, it comes across, whether the person writing the script had a malice in doing it or the person had ignorance in doing it, they end up doing the same thing.
This is my balcony that rarely gets used because it's either raining, super humid, or 97 degrees.
That's kind of like Florida. So New York probably has a little bit better weather than that, but okay. I live in Florida, so that's literally no different for me.
This is my bathroom. It's small, but it's...
I've never had a bathroom that's bigger than this. I think maybe in the house I grew up in, it would be like, it wouldn't be this wide, but it may not be as deep or whatever. So like when I grew up in was deeper, but not as wide. So like, at best it was tied, but I've never had one as big as this.
Effective. This is my wardrobe room. This is the third bedroom, but there's no bed. So I've turned it into
three bedrooms. Okay, sick.
My wardrobe, closet, get ready space. My second bedroom. I didn't paint it. It came like this. And this is the master bedroom.
You're allowed to paint walls, I guess. If that implies that someone else had set up an aerial thing.
This is it.
Bedroom. Nothing super crazy, but nicer kitchen than the apartments we were in.
So here it is. It's pretty small, but I'm just one person and it works perfect for me. This is where I do my laundry.
I think that was from the, let me double check. Yeah, this is connected to her room. So it's in unit, washer and dryer.
This is laundry. Where I do my laundry. This is my washer. My apartment came with this really cool built-in feature where I can hang my clothes on this hanging line that, again, is perfect for shorties like me.
I guess no dryer. But hey, in-unit washer, way better than you ever get in Manhattan.
So other benefits that come with being an international teacher at my school is I have free health care insurance. My job gives me, I think it's like $15 a month for subway fare.
And when it costs you 30 cents round trip, that would be a lot of trips per month before you even come out of your pay, actually.
In addition, every year my job gives me a flight allowance, and that comes to $1,200 US. Each month, I think I spend approximately $75 on groceries.
It's one person. So, fuck. Because, like, we, like, weekly are paying, like, $300 and something for groceries. Pretty averagely. Sometimes multiple times, even in a week. That's a month. For one. So, even if you double it, that's, like, $150 a month-ish. You know? Hell, make it $200 a month. Hell.
I have 4 bags of groceries. mostly produce, and a bottle of sesame oil. Total $9.04.
I feel like those 2 boxes of berries, you would already be like over that. Even at Walmart. Like we're not talking like, ooh, Whole Foods or some shit, right? And that's like a farmer market, like actually like fresh and like awesome shit.
Yeah.
And it's walkable.
It's really easy to make friends with local people. I have a lot of local friends that I cherish and have taught me so much about their culture. And I also have a lot of expat friends. Okay. Aside from being a university teacher, I'm also a YouTuber, content creator, and with both of those salaries combined, the maximum amount I am able to save is up to $1,000 every month. So when it comes to eating out, it really depends on where I'm going. If I'm going to Cheesecake Factory, then I'm spending US Cheesecake Factory money, $60 for a meal. But if I'm eating local and going to my
Wait, I didn't realize they had Cheesecake Factory. Cheesecake Factory has fucking gone everywhere. Holy shit, I had no idea they had shit in China.
neighborhood noodle spot, I'm spending $2 on a bowl of noodles. In a month, I'm spending about $150 eating out.
That could be like an inner city New York thing. That could be like that because you just have a small kitchen and you're by yourself and you don't feel like cooking. I could see that being a thing. So the grocery cost mixing with this, you could argue, but also you get to eat out. I don't have to fucking make shit. That's cool. And eating local might be, and you know, better than the fucking Cheesecake Factory, depending upon what you're eating. Yeah.
I feel completely safe as a woman of color. I just feel very at ease in this country.
It's crazy when you're just seeing like how
crime in this country is quite low.
Like, I mean, I was just at New York. And not only is this shit like fucking pristine and fresh, it's just so different.
Some of the challenges I face in China is just simply being different. China is a homogenous country, so I stick out like a sore thumb. I cannot go a day being outside without someone pointing at me and saying in Chinese, look, there's a black person, look, there's a...
That does seem like it would be a problem, but like, come on, how different is that? Let's be real. I mean, obviously the people aren't surprised to see black people, but like, there's problems being black in America, right? That's why I think this is also a bit of just Asia overall, with black people especially, from what I've heard. But even like white people, it's the same thing, and they go, "Whoa, it's a white person." They're just taking photos of you, you know? Oh my God, yeah. There's like 97% home ownership in China, which is like, what?
Foreigner. Another challenge is the homesickness, is missing.
Right, it is, yeah.
Not only your family and friends, but missing the understanding of just how to do things. That was the hardest part, is that learning curve.
I guess from her perspective, right? Because she's like, oh, they all look like Han Chinese, which is, first off, Han is like such a gigantic criteria of individuals, but yeah.
Of trying to figure out how China works.
So this was paired up with another video that was shown, which is a bit of a vlog video, but dear God. So when you combined that, like, wow, it just is how much it costs. And even as a person who didn't know shit about it and wasn't even a teacher, right? I just popped over.
Well. And
this person is showing off this brand new
piece of art is absolutely
facility that's opened. This
This is Chongqing, the largest railway station in the whole world.
The largest subway station in the whole world. Just opened. Holy Holy fuck.
Today's a very special day. I'm going to visit a brand new train station that is actually opening today. I'm talking about Chongqing East or Chongqing Dong, the biggest train station in the whole world. I'm actually today in another station. I'm going to take a train from here.
This is not even it. This is just the other bitch-ass station.
Huge station, but as you know,
I thought this was the biggest one. What the fuck?
China is expanding its railway network and railway stations all around the country.
Yeah.
There is a nice display of police cars in the entrance of this station for some reason. I don't know if it's all the time like this. At least in Shenzhen it's not like that, but here perhaps there's a special day. There's something special happening here. This is one of the most beautiful trains I've ever seen. This is called Fuxing, and these kind of trains go all around China, 350 kilometers per hour. And now we're gonna take this one to connect to the brand new Chongqing Dong station. Look at that piece of art. It's absolutely
stunning.
That's
crazy.
Absolutely stunning.
What? This is not the brand new station either. This is not the biggest brand new station, but it's like, oh my god, it's fucking beautiful. The floor is mirrored. You can see yourself in it.
I just arrived at one of the several tracks that this station has. Right now, there are not many people or not many trains since this station just started operations today.
The rail yard features 15 platforms and 29 tracks, designed for a peak passenger throughput of about 16,000 people per hour.
God damn.
As soon as you start getting off the station, you start seeing all these signs with the information to grab a taxi, to take the subway.
It's in English too, which
is a pilot project for station city integration, bringing together 7 high-speed lines, 2 conventional railways, and 4 metro lines, aiming to provide seamless zero-transfer connectivity.
This is a full plan of the whole station. You can see how massive it is. There are a lot of plans to build parks and green areas all around the station. But we can also see here several subway lines, line number 8. This is line 24, connecting also here, 27, and line number 6. There are even some additional works being done here in the underground area. I think that's the area connecting to the parking lot.
I mean, I'm just
Chongqing's mountainous terrain makes large-scale construction projects especially complex. So earth moving and leveling the ground require more engineering and money than flat areas.
Building here in Chongqing is quite challenging. All the mountains that are surrounding this station. So in order to build this huge infrastructure, you can tell there how these mountains here, they were kind of cut in order to make all the space. In the next few years, this area will be transformed into a huge transportation commercial hub where a lot of people will be passing every single day. It's already becoming quite important here. This station will connect with several major cities in China like Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou.
I don't think we could ever build something like that.
Trains start operation
to
this very station. Since this is the very first day of operations, you can see, other than regular passengers, you also see a lot of people, local people coming here to take pictures and take a look at this project. That happens quite often.
The station covers approximately 1.23 million square meters, roughly the size of 170 football fields. It is a critical junction in China's A-vertical and A-horizontal high-speed rail network, with travel times of around 1 hour to Chengdu and Guiyang, 3 hours to cities like Wuhan, Kunming, Changsha, and Xi'an, and approximately 6 hours to major hubs such as Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou.
The live streaming industry here in China is just massive, it's crazy. And you can see a lot of different old ladies. They're called ayis here in China. And they also have a group of friends and they come here just to make a video. Since there are so many platforms here where they can showcase their videos and even earn money. They're taking the opportunity to come here and also share the opening of this brand new train station.
Like I'd seen it before when it was like, we'll build a hyperloop. Yeah. Investors are just not prevalent, and leaders are too cheap. Yeah. Well, it's the difference between paying companies to come in and do things. Like right now, in the St. Pete area, like our one stadium had its like roof ripped off because it was made out of carbon fiber, and it still hasn't been fixed in like a year. And this place is what they said, like 8 or 17 fucking football fields big. Are you kidding me?
怎么样？我可以很好，我们走轻轨来的，我们就在附近的。
来拍视频拍照对吧？
哎，对对对。
你们都是朋友吗？
哎，我们就是。
你们是网红吗？
不是不是
网红，但是网红吗？不是网红。
哎，不是不是不是，哎。
I am right now on the second floor of the main hall of the stage.
It looks like you're in Star Trek, right? Like it just crazy. I mean, I've seen other things, but when you see people inside of it, or when you think about it, like this is the plan, and they show mock-ups or like 3D renders, you're like, sure. But then you see it in action, and you see it done, or at least released and open, even if like the parking lot level still being, you know, it's just like. It's not like a pipe dream. Like you've seen like the NEOM stuff from like Saudi Arabia or whatever, where they say like, look, we're going to have the wall, which is this insane city. And it never even gets built. Like they started on like one section and it goes nowhere because it's something fake.
And this area is quite empty, as you can tell. But
yeah, something like this is not profitable is true in the sense that this thing, especially with the prices they charge stuff, is not going to make money, except that it's going to just make the entire country stronger. It's going to connect all these different cities and places where if you could live somewhere and then easily just pop on over with no resistance and pressure, then you can, you know, take a afternoon to go and, you know, see if I could just be like, oh, look, I'd want to take like a 1 or, you know, hour and a half ride to Atlanta and then just hit it up and, you know, see a bunch of awesome things, eat some food, and then bang, take a ride back, you know, not to worry about these crazy bag limitations, huge expensive things, cancellations. It's just you build, and then businesses can start in places, jobs can be opened, and it's just when you reap the benefits the same way that when we built Railroad, we did our thing to the Native Americans, but we also created the entirety of the country. Terrible for a billionaire. Yeah. And China has billionaires, actually. Like they just sometimes when they kill people by systemic malpractice and malfeasance, they get in trouble. Unlike ours.
In the next few months, several shops and restaurants are set to open in this area.
I think China has more billionaires than us.
For most of the newest train stations here in China, like Shenzhen North, Guangzhou South, Shanghai.
These are all just different, major, big, clean, effective train stations.
Hongqiao, where the main waiting hall and the access to the boarding gates are on the first floor in the main atrium, and all the services, restaurants, and shops are located here on this second level.
I mean, it puts it in perspective when you realize, like, because like a city like Chengdu, I'd never heard of, but it's like 2.5 times the size of New York City, which is like one of our like largest cities. Period. I think LA. I forget if LA is the same or bigger, depending upon how you divide the areas up. But it's just like, oh yeah, they're just over here pumping away. Oh yeah, we're over here failing with all of our different. Like we can't even keep our kids learning at a level that we can understand, and our infrastructure is failing all around. Like, well, we're cooked. Oh, we are 100% cooked. It's over. I got no. I'll still be here. You know, I'm too lazy to fucking teach something in another fucking language or another area. But like, I'm no longer, the wool is not over my eyes anymore. I want to make America like this. I want to make America closer to this because I don't think it'll ever get to this in my lifetime. We could. I see the potential for us to do that. And we would have things that are better. At least with our current understanding of our freedoms and shit. It's just like, fuck. They have more business owners than us per capita even. That's crazy.
This station
Teacher
started
sells Mandarin.
construction in late 2018, and
They started construction in 2018. Are you fucking kidding
in
me?
2024 they start building the steel roof that you can see from here. Is beautifully made. During the first 6 months of these,
There's construction at an intersection outside my house. It's going to take 2 years to build. They close an intersection that I used to use to go to work. They close an intersection for 2 years. One intersection. They built this entire steel roof in 2 years.
Here they were just completing the decoration details of the station. Today in 2025, the station
Not even
is
2
fully
years. I'm
operational,
thinking we're 2026.
already welcome passengers from all around China. This station is so massive. It has 4 different entrances, north, south, east, and west. They all have these huge metal detectors or security checks. Every single train station in China, same as the subway stations, they have security checks, so you cannot enter with dangerous items like guns, chemicals.
It's just crazy.
There are also several facilities to make traveling more comfortable, especially when it comes to families.
There was one thing, yeah, I mean, they showed all the different areas. And then there was one thing that I thought was kind of funny, which was they showed off the bathrooms, yeah.
And people smoking as well, all the facilities. No napkins though, but they have these hand dryers that you can use to dry your hands. Or squat regular. Oh yeah, there's only one actually.
There's one regular toilet, and then the majority of the toilets they have
important. Here you have
are squat toilets. And it's like, see, this is why we have to build it in America. That's something that I'm just so not used to. It would be probably the biggest culture shock is trying to shit in a squat toilet. That would be different. That would be different. I mean, I'm glad that there's at least one, so that way the white people can take a shit, or, disabled people, whoever needs it. Oh, you get a ton of tax breaks to get small businesses. That sounds just like the way we do shit. And in some ways, it's just the way it was explained was instead of there being a capitalist class of people that rule everything, the government is there to keep control. And so that way the people don't get fucked over. Because we have our 2 parties of government, but they kowtow to the capitalist class. Where in China, the capitalist class has to kowtow to the government, aka the people's class. I've never shat in a hole before. I'm trying to think back. Even when I was at camp, there was toilets. And when I went to camp, for 1 week, it was like a 5-day camp thing. I did my best to just never shit. So I just pinched my asshole and just didn't shit. We don't give tax breaks? Oh, what do you mean? Kamala Harris had her very popular plan to give inner city Black single mothers who make less than $50,000 a year, who open a small business on the left side of the street, a tax break. They had 15 qualifiers in front, and then you have to apply. Well, that was the fear, is that there were spiders inside of the shit house. So everybody at my camp just pissed on the side of our bunk, and I guess pooped. Yeah. Not for small businesses. They said it was for small businesses, but hey, they didn't win, so they didn't get them. I mean, I know we have tax breaks. When I filed taxes for our crappy card business, there were tax breaks in the sense that you could file, you know, your whatever, $5,000. Woo, yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we definitely don't support small business in the way that they pretend to do. Because they say, like, I'm a small business owner. Like, brother, you own 4 jet ski dealerships. What do you mean small business owner? You know, like, no, that's not a small business, right? A small business is like a married couple, you know, who deal with, like, you know, $40,000 of the revenue a year, right? Like, that's what a small business is. Damn, it's getting late.
Squat toilets.
So I just thought the squat toilet thing was really funny, just because it's like, oh fuck, that is that's a culture shock. Also, being able to vape indoors, that's a culture shock as well. That's different than how we currently do it. So that kind of got me like, wow, China is looking real nice. I don't know if you've ever seen any of like the iShowSpeed stuff. Let's see. I kind of want. I haven't actually watched like a nice little like. Here we go. iShowSpeed. This is from some random channel, but I'm just curious to see what we got.
We are here in Shenzhen, China. No, first
Now,
time.
I don't know if people are familiar with iShowSpeed. It's a bit of a goofball, a bit of a. The young man, kind of wild, kind of crazy. What? Why did this? Oh, I just didn't highlight all of it. I see.
Zen, China. Turn me up, boys. Oh yeah, chat. Y'all gotta look at the fit though, y'all. Chat is the fit fire.
I'm more interested in seeing this stuff.
Zen's about. Look at this. You see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about?
I'm not gonna watch the whole thing, obviously.
This is what I'm talking about. A dancing damn core.
I love you. You're in my.
He's definitely very popular, and they ended up showing a whole bunch of weird shit. This may not be the best video.
What the hell is that sound, bro? Anyway, so we're about to be the first person to fly in a the flying car. This is the future right here. I am about to be the first public
I don't know if you would want to be the first person to fly in a drone car.
figure / streamer to drive the flying car, as I can see right here.
Just passenger, just 2 passengers, and non-pilot, purely non-pilot.
So it would just be me in there?
Yes, just you, but not the first person.
So it's gonna be, so it's only
He's like, no, you're not the first.
gonna be me in a car?
Yeah, you'll be alone.
I'm gonna be alone?
Yes. Just try not to move.
Try not to move. Now, I don't know if they can put my fat ass in that.
Not too much.
You did? That's crazy.
16 propellers, so very safe.
I just wanted this. I wanted to see like the shots of the cities and stuff.
System. So if one of them runs out, the other 2 is backup. So if
But this is kind of interesting. I want to see if he actually gets up to the end.
it's automatic. It's not someone flying it. It's purely automatic.
Like he screams and cries. He's a bit of you know, he's hamming it up, right? He's playing around. This is crazy.
I'm in a flying car, bro. Why do I be doing like this? Why do I do stuff like this? I'm in a flying car, the first person to drive a flying car in China. No,
Holy shit! You're crazy, Carrie. She's a bit of a. Look at that! That's insane. I still get afraid flying in planes. You know what I mean? It must be loud as fuck in there. The audio is getting fucked like this. Maybe just like the vibration type is like messing with the noise canceling or something. Look at that. That's crazy. Also, the cities look insane. Why does it sound so deep fried? He's barking. Okay, is this... Let's see, is this...
All right, y'all, you ready to see Chongqing, China? This is the cyber city of Chongqing, China.
Like, Kara's like, oh, this is
Chongqing! This is Chongqing, China, bro.
like catching up to Japan. I think Japan's still in the dust, man.
Oh my God.
No, yeah, for sure. But still, it's spooky.
Yo, that shit look crazy on stream, bro. I swear to God, this look crazy on stream, bro. Bro, chat, I ain't gonna cap. China might be in a different year, bro. This city is like so futuristic. This city's actually Cyber City. Oh my God.
I never heard of Chongqing or whatever. Like, if you asked me, especially like fucking 10 years ago, I would have assumed that, first off, it sounds like you're being racist or something, because it just sounds like words that, well, truckers would assume is Chinese, but actually, and then I would have assumed it's a small town or some shit, not something bigger than New York City or whatever. It's just,
oh my goodness, bro. I think
and they're just there living life, eating food, having jobs.
This shit bro, it looks majestic though.
Zipping around fucking nation. They have like, oh my God, like they gave him 10 years of visa-free travel. I could imagine. Yeah. I mean, he did amazing PR, obviously, because he got like some of his big, having millions of people watching his streams, and people were like me, just didn't know shit about China. And then you see it and you're like, oh my fucking God, what the fuck? We were told that they suck and it's slave labor. Honestly, from what I've seen, take your pick, right? Any city that's like that level, I don't care which one it is. And then they're all interconnected via high-speed rail. High rail in China. Was it over, like they have like the different like timeline. You can see like how they've gone. I guess I was looking to see some of these different yeah, this is it.
This high-speed train's arriving in Nanjing after its 190-mile-per-hour journey across China. On board are people going to work or seeing friends in the city. They're
beautiful, smooth. New York subways, shaking, rocking. You literally scared for your life because you're hearing these loud bangs coming from the floor as they like come up under my feet. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? The lights going out, flickering.
Passengers making use of what's now the biggest high-speed rail network anywhere in the world. But that statement doesn't really come anywhere near close to explaining what this actually is. 2/3 of the world's entire high-speed rail network is now in China. In the 12 years...
That's like, oh shit. What the fuck? Japan? 2/3. That's the majority. All in just China.
Since its first line opened, the country has dramatically outbuilt every other nation, and now plans to double the size of its high-speed network in just the next 15 years.
Not, CGI.
The country's economy has boomed. Cities have exploded.
What do you know? You interconnect your population and shit thrives. Nah, man, build one more lane. Open up one more lane on that highway instead.
And the rest of the world's been left wondering how they'll ever come close to building at such an insatiable pace. This is the unstoppable high-speed growth of China's high-speed rail network, explained. There are high-speed rail networks around the world, But then there's the network in China. It's an insanely large web of track that's helped to ignite an economic powerhouse. In little over a decade, the country's built enough high-speed lines to almost circle the globe, and the system welcomed 1.7 billion passengers in 2019 alone. To put that into context, the UK built a high-speed rail line between London and the Channel Tunnel in the 2000s that's equivalent to 0.2% of China's current network. The new HS2 line was first proposed in 2009, and Phase 1 of it is due to complete in 2033. The US has one high-speed line in the northeast, but it's arguably not actually high speed, and California's new line won't open before 2029.
Good luck. Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
Of course.
Is there a place I can bet on that? You know, not financial advice, but is there a place I can bet on that?
The approach to high-speed rail in these countries is very different, and we'll come back to that a little later on. To properly understand how this jaw-dropping network came to be and where it's headed, you need to look at the story of modern China. Since the 1980s, the country has roughly doubled its GDP every 8 years. More than 800 million people have been lifted out of poverty, and between the year 2000 and 2018, over 47% of the population has risen to middle-class status.
47% to middle class. We're losing our middle class.
Cities few had heard of 20 years ago are now vast metropolises. Across the country, skyscrapers soar above your head, factories teem with activity, and trade booms. This isn't all down to high-speed rail. The fast lines have played a huge role in accelerating the country's growth since 2008, but before that, train systems were under pressure. Faced with buckling infrastructure, state planning for high-speed rail began in 1990, and the first line between Beijing and Tianjin opened in 2008, cutting travel between the two cities from 70 minutes to 30. Other lines were quickly introduced, linking the cities of Shanghai, Wuhan, Chengdu, and more.
This is 2008, 2017. It's not even 10 years. They started off with fucking like one line. And like the size of China is like the size of the United States. So they only have one coastline. So you could argue the entire East Coast and leading in a little bit into like sort of like the Great Lakes area would just be entirely crisscrossed with high-speed rail at this rate. And then like a line going out to Las Vegas or something.
Initial trains were imported or built under technology transfer agreements with foreign train makers.
Yeah, the middleman is a huge part of it.
Chinese engineers have become leaders in the field. The country now has the world's longest high-speed rail line between Beijing and Guangzhou, the world's fastest high-speed line between Beijing and Shanghai, and the world's first commercial maglev line, reaching a top speed of 267 miles an hour. As of 2021, China's high-speed rail network stretches for 37,900 kilometers, while its entire rail track length runs for over 141,000 kilometers. By 2035, the high-speed network will have grown to 70,000 kilometers, and the total rail length will extend over 200,000 kilometers.
One of those, like, I believe them, right? Because they've made other things happen. Normally you would go like, yeah, right, but it's like, okay, what the fuck? Of course.
China's case for high-speed rail.
Let's see. Is there any other infographic kind of things? This was another part of it. It was like, another thing is the fucking energy that they're producing. They're future looking. Between January and May of this year, China has added 198 gigawatts of solar and 46 gigawatts of wind. Just what they've added from January to May is enough energy to generate as much electricity as Indonesia or Turkey. So those entire countries that generate energy, oh yeah, we just added that in this 5-month window. They just added it to their fucking shit. Generate as much electricity as Poland. As the world's second biggest economy breaks further records, rapid buildup of renewable energy infrastructure. China installed 93 gigawatts of solar capacity last month. That's 100 solar panels every second. Holy fuck. They also have a very unique type of high conductive, or what is it, like there's like a certain type of electrical line that they have that is able to transmit major amounts of electricity, which is unique or difficult to do, high wattage lines or whatever it is. So you can have an area in the desert that then feeds electricity to the other coasts or whatever. It's nuts, man. And like we're reopening coal plants and shit. And it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck are we doing? We're so cooked. We're cooked in every metric. What is it? I'm just mistyping everything. Doesn't matter. Research ranking in institutions ranking 2025. If you look at all of the rankings of the top institutions of learning, China number 1, China number 2, China number 3, Harvard number 4. A thing that we're actively defunding right now. Actually, I know it's bright as fuck. Hold on, let me turn that brightness down. China. Oh, France is number 3. USA number 4. China. USA number 7. Harvard Medical School. Okay. China. Germany. China. Like, obviously, then it gets more mixed at the bottom. But like, we're fucked. We've been beaten on like all parameters, all sides. That's okay. You know, that's okay. We can be a smaller country. It's just one of those things. I'm ready for it because it's about to happen. It's just whether or not that's the problem, is that we have been hidden from this, because like they know what's going on. Are you a leftist? I believe so. I don't really read, so like I don't know. I haven't read any of the books that you would make you define whether you are or not. I just want government to do things for its people, mostly, pretty much. Yeah. Sometimes as a first message, you know, brand new chatter, welcome in. It could be a little like, whoa, who's asking? Whoa, what the hell? The leftist tag can bring in friend or foe alike, depending upon the situation. Yeah, what's good? Okay, sweet. Yeah, we were just drooling over, you know, China in all its forms. What else is new, I guess, in a leftist space? We had watched a video about how America's education system is failing. It was from like a more of a normie centrist sort of perspective. The title was baiting AI as the reason, but there's been many reasons leading up to it. Leftist is anti-capitalist. I would say that's a better way of putting it. It probably is true, but like just as a way of saying like, yeah, I would rather have more of a socialist version of the economy or whatever. I think Zoran is doing amazing things up in New York, and I'm actually working with my local DSA in my side of Florida to try and get things done. City Councilor Richie Floyd, who technically isn't a city I don't live in, but yeah, sure, okay, fair. He had already got the mayor to, you know, work favorably upon getting city-owned grocery stores in the city of St. Petersburg, not Russia, St. Petersburg, Florida. Again, it's not that a city I live in, but it's really weird to look at, because when I was looking at the Zoran campaign, I was blown away with how big the mayor race is. The anti-China leftists are all over the place. Well, I could see that because we are raised to have that natural disposition. It's sort of the default without realizing it's your default. And then it can take a little while to deprogram or whatever. Definitely not for racist reasons. Well, that would be another side of it as well, I guess. That would also work against you. I was kind of like upset when I found out, because like I was doing some research on Staten Island, because there was a joke that it's Stalin Island, and that it, despite it being a heavily Republican, one of the only Republican sort of like boroughs of New York, it went in Mondani's favor. And it's like, oh shit. But I looked into it, and it's the only one that's about a 50-50 between Republicans and Democrats, but it was a closed primary. So matters less. Thoughts on communism. Bro, I couldn't define communism. Is it supposed to be a moneyless society or some shit? I don't know. I've been told that it's supposed to be moneyless, and I'm told that it's not moneyless. So, I would love to live in Star Trek. If that's what you're asking, I think that'd be sick. I would love to have something like that. But I just want the government to do stuff for its people, I don't know if this is a good way to communicate the message or a bad way, but it's an honest way because I'm some goober who grew up in Florida and was taught that slavery was not the reason for the Civil War, right? Define its people? You mean like the government should be helping its people? Well, like China builds high-speed rail and oh no, it's not profitable. But the whole point is that it helps interconnected cities, which helps its people, the people who are among the government and among, the nation or whatever. And I'm not even a person that wants to be heavily nationalistic where we're better than somebody else or whatever. Yahweh. I mean, ultimately, I guess in the end, all people, right, would be. Is that what communism is? Is more like communism and government takes your cow. It's supposed to be the same. Oh shit. Hey, I've misspelt many a thing all the time. Spelling is not my forte. Neither is reading, actually. Yeah, neither is a lot of things. Oh, it's not supposed to be the same. See, there you go. Me misreading again immediately. But yeah, I mean, I guess if in the end, communism is supposed to help all humanity. I mean, I've been told before I'm a humanist, where I believe in people and humanity and want to see the good in people or whatever it is. I don't know if I was just raised to be a sucker, but it's I find it hard to imagine being a scammer or a cheater, just because how the fuck could you do that? It's crazy. Just I know I'm gonna set up this thing to call grandmas and try and steal their money. Haha, yeah, that's fucked up. I couldn't imagine doing that shit. Right? That sucks. That just seems like I look around and I see scams or fraud or whatever. People doing rug pulls of crypto, people setting up bot accounts that steal content and then post slop to get likes, that then get ad revenue, and it's just ew, that's terrible. That's just that makes the world worse. Not only do I disapprove of it existing naturally, but I would never want to produce anything close to that. That's horrifying, And some people look at that as oh, grind set. Fuck yeah, That has nothing to do with communism and or socialism. That's just trying to give you a little taste of me, for better or for worse. We saw the way you can live pretty affordably in China. The high-speed rail they're building in the gigantic subway station. So personally, you think it has something to do with culture. Ooh. Values in terms of morals and other things like that are based mostly on culture, history, and less on inherent human nature. You mean being good to one another? What has something to do with culture specifically? When I was referring to, you mean communism has something to do with culture and the values of morals of things, or you mean just whether or not you're going to scam somebody? Because half the scams I'm talking about, scamming and whatnot. I mean, half the scams come from America that I'm thinking of. Well, not all, but the rug pullers that I'm thinking of are from America. Yeah. I gave a little ooh when I heard that it has something to do with culture, just because, Happy Goat is getting at, sometimes saying it's culture is a way of hiding just racism or whatever, right? Yeah, enlightened racism. just because it's like, no. It's not the black race, it's black culture that's bad or whatever, right? Like that would be an example of how that's utilized. And as I always do, I default to a centrist and charitable position where like that could have just come across wrong in text format, which is why I guess why Goat is prefacing it saying, hopefully you're not about to do that or whatever. And I'm also sort of like saying, whoa, I gave an ooh because like, ooh, that can come across wrong. And if you didn't intend it to, it's just good to know it that way. If you end up in like Hassan's chat or something and say that, you might catch a stray, right? There's been times that people have in the few chatters I've had stroll through without doing it on purpose, said some things that after asking them or grilling them about it, they go, oh, I not like that. It's like, okay, just so you're aware, you know, whoever you are. Like one of my dad would tell me that like, oh yeah, I love Oriental people. And I'm like, Dad, you should not use that term. And he's like, I don't mean anything bad by it. Like, Dad, I understand. But I'm just saying to you, whether you want to listen to me or not, you're best off not using that term if you can avoid it. You know what I mean? Like trying to like, I'm just looking out for you. You know, I know you, right? But at the same time, like just outside, please do your best. But we also live in Florida where there's literally a store called Oriental Market and it sells stuff. Yeah. So like it's an uphill battle, right? Pick your battles sometimes. I'm not good at that. I'm the one who's engaging or encouraging. My brother would be like, just keep his head down. At Thanksgiving, for example, or whatever, you know, it causes some unnecessary stress for multiple people. I think in the past year, I've tried to tone it down, at least in my ability to, you know, lead things to places I know that will be contentious. But at the same time, I don't want to leave my family in the spot that they're at because they're also a product of their environment. They were also taught things, you know, depending upon where they're at in their personal life and journey. Are they ready to then actually have deep introspective analysis on whether or not they want to change something? I don't know. It's not based on where you're born or how you look, but let's say you were born a Christian environment, you'd have a different values. Born in a Muslim environment, which is also very different from someone born in an atheist environment. Again, not perhaps your understanding of what a Christian environment is and what a Muslim environment and what an atheist environment is might likely have heavy biases that change it, because I'm hoping you don't mean Muslim people as in Muslim environment is generally an extremist environment, because that's not the norm. And I was born in a Christian environment, but I'm now devout atheist or whatever. I imagine you might be yourself. But I was not born and raised in an atheist environment. That's good that you don't find it, because I just when I see that brought up, that's been where it's gone, which puts me on the defensive. And even if you don't mean it to be so, you might run into people with knives and like, you know, fucking phalanx position ready to stab you or whatever, just because they're used to being marginalized and attacked. So if the no was to my response, that's good. If the no was to the Muslims or scam people, I guess that's also good. Just because I guess if Muslims don't scam people, what do atheists do or Christians do? Because if the culture could lead you to what might make you a scammer, but these three different examples, there's no any one group that would be considered a scammer, then I guess it's not so much about the group, right? I assume that's per capita, but yeah. Shit. White men commit all pedophilia by, you know, give or take 5%. Oh, fuck. Well, sure, both. Yeah, that makes sense. If it's one, if it's per capita, there'd definitely be, you know, yeah. But like when someone says that white men commit almost all pedophilia, I don't go, hey, you didn't say not all men. Like, you didn't say not all white men. You just said the majority or whatever. Like, I'm not like, I don't feel put on the back foot by that, which is a bit of a pivot from the original topic. But yeah, just be careful with, and here especially, I guess, just because the more you push down that line, specifically saying that culture means more to how you become a bad person or whatever, that can, it's a dog whistle. It's a lot of bad things. So if you mean something, just say whatever it is you're trying to mean. If people have bad friend groups and bad parents, or a bit of both, or a bit of one or the other in different times, then they can become a jerk and a bad person. If they have bad socioeconomic properties that happen to them, and they have influences that hide them from other options, or they see no way out other than something else, then I can see how a person would, I mean, that's literally how crime happens, is socioeconomic reasons generally is what pushes an individual. Nobody wants to steal the bread, but if they're hungry, they want to steal the bread. Nobody wants to steal this stuff from a CVS, but they see no future for themselves, and they have no other way to have what others have. Right? That's where it comes from, and then they have the only positive role models around them or whatever. Like, that's still not culture as a whole, because using the example of black culture, we use black culture in everything. Literally every piece of slang comes from like queer and black culture, media, dance, everything, you know, like, but that's not a bad thing, right? None of that's considered to be criminal in behavior. I think a lot of our moral values in the West come from Christianity. Like, that's why some things are seen as a lot worse in some places and other places not seen as bad. Take age of consent, for example. That depends a lot on culture. What about age of consent from Christianity comes from Christianity? Doesn't the Bible kind of like condone some pretty age of consent eyebrows, some problematic age gaps, right? Isn't that kind of like the Christianity that's doing a lot of child wives right now, specifically in parts of like America? Also, Christianity is like the same fucking religion as Muslim. So like, how can it fundamentally separate points in the same message? I think a lot of America's moral values are related to just America specifically. Christianity has lost quite a bit of, I mean, like, you know, mixing fabrics, polyester and cotton. Get out of here. Stone them. A woman on her period allowed indoors? How could you, right? Like, that, the idea of Christianity morals and like right and wrong. Also, Christian morals are like turn the other cheek and love thy neighbor. Fuck that. We don't do that shit either. So we don't do any of it. It's all thrown out. It's all just what they want to do. Founded by deists, not Christians. Really funny. Separation of church and state. I guess I think I heard about that before. I didn't look. I forgot, because obviously I forget what the difference between deists and Christians would be. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely not supposed to be a Christian thing. Adding under God that pledge allegiance was done like in the 50s or something specifically. Let's see. When was under God added to the pledge? 1954. So, to some, a lifetime ago. Like, my dad was 6 years away from his birth at that point. So, technically not in our lifetimes, but within the era of our upbringings. it seems like it's a thing that's been there forever, but half a generation shift me over, it wouldn't have been. Like, are you just trying to say that like Christianity is our morals, which are better or something? Because if you want to say that, just say that. Like, it feels like this has been a long beating around the bush and trying your best not to say it in a mean or bad way, but you're still trying to get somewhere, which is why we've been, I guess, Happy Goat and myself in our own directions have been preparing ourselves for the worst, right? Because I feel like as a humanist, I can look at all humanity and see good and bad, but I don't think that such a specific line to draw the morality makes any sense whatsoever. Waiting to see the next message. We're getting pretty close to ending. And then you asked if I was a leftist. And I'm like, yeah. And then you're like, yo, what's good? I'm like, oh, you know, people. And you're like, well, maybe not all people. And I'm like, whoa. Do you think the Christian foundation of America that you see is a good thing? Like, I would see it as a bad thing. Especially how it's been executed. But, you know, that would make us bad then, right? But we're not bad. But they're bad. They. The others. Yeah, that's right. Because you asked me about communism. And then wanted me to define people. And then everything since has been major posts. Praise Lord Emperor Trump. Dude, the first administration, they were doing memes about him being the God Emperor 40K. And then I think they're just trying to now make that a reality. Which is frustrating. Frustrating in a lot of ways. Well, hey, you know, this time of day has been fruitful, I think. The blackout curtain did great, kept his room from getting hot as hell, which is beautiful. Kara was able to interact with the stream. I got to show her some of those China videos that make us. I was joking with her, being like, "Oh, we're gonna move to New York soon, right? We're gonna move to New York soon." When Mandani was doing great, but now it's like, "Oh man, just screw it, fuck it. Why bother? Just move to China. Fuck it. Just move to any of the different cities in China. Doesn't matter which. I'll teach for 18 hours a week, 4 days a week. That's not even 5 hours of a work day. I know it's 18-hour work weeks. That's less than half of our current work week. It's kind of crazy. You're working for 4.5, 5 hours a day for 4 days. I worked 4 tens when I was working before I got laid off with no social safety net whatsoever. What the fuck? What the fuck? And people are getting taken off the street for saying negative things. Dude, oh my God, this is the thing that I saw that is just bananas. Oh my God, I cannot type. I believe this is it. Let me turn the flashbang filter on here. Texas City tells people no Hurricane Harvey aid unless they promise not to boycott Israel. What the fuck? Houston, the city of Dixon, Texas, is requiring applicants for Hurricane Harvey rebuilding funds to certify in writing that they will not take part in the boycott of Israel. What the fuck? So when you combine this with snatching up people off the street for saying, like, we support the lives of Palestinians, we don't have free speech. We don't even have, what is it? Fuck. Brain up for a while. The land of the free. Yeah, the land of the I was trying to think of some fucking joke about free, but it's, it's like the land of the buy one get one free, I guess. I don't know. It ain't the fucking freedoms, that's for sure. Like, people get mad about China for its like ability to crack down. Apparently the whole like Winnie the Pooh thing was kind of like an overblown thing. Nobody was ever in trouble for making fun of Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh ride still exists or whatever. It's not like they've like erased it from existence. Land of the free lead poisoning. Yeah. Generation lead is Gen X. If you've ever seen the graphs of that. Oh, what the hell is it? It's not habeas corpus, but that's going... That has problems, obviously. Due process. That's what I'm talking about. Due process. So, ICE agents can run through your city. No badges. No identification. They're literally wearing balaclavas. Kidnap you. Send you to CCOT, a concentration camp. Alligator Alcatraz, alligator fucking Auschwitz in my own fucking state. In the tent. Human rights abuses left and right. And they said, like, oh, you got to live in America for freedoms. We don't have infrastructure. They funnel all the fucking money to the criminals. Dude, there was a thing I was looking at earlier. This is the problem. Oh, God. The paywall thing. Option 2, I think, is the good one. So, Hormel, maybe throw on the flashbang. Hormel settles pork price fixing suits for $11 million. Hormel Foods will pay $11 million to settle a class action lawsuit alleging the company worked with other pork producers to illegally fix prices and overcharge customers. The lawsuit launched in 2018. I think it started in 2008, right? When they started looking at it. Let's see. Oh my God. Flashbang on, please. Please. The scheme, according to the complaint, began in 2009, right? Oh, picture. And it includes Tyson Foods, Jim Beam, whatever, Smithfield's, basically everything you get to buy food from. Your Walmarts and every, whatever food, Kroger's, they're all full of the same shit. And then a generic brand alongside it. So this all started in 2009. And then I just look at revenue increases for Hormel Foods. 2007, 2008, 2009. Oh. That's 2017. That's not even counting the most recent fucking booms. So they literally create a cartel. They price fix. They steal from us. They artificially restrict the food. And then they get caught. They get caught doing the most illegal thing you think they could possibly do, other than willfully poisoning the entire population. Which you could argue as well. But they get caught doing that. And then inside of the thing, the proposed settlement filed in court last week will see Austin Food Company end litigation without admitting fault. Hormel will pay to customers and this much to wholesalers, whatever. The $11 million is split up. They said the deal provides compensation that'll be available years earlier than if litigation against Hormel Food continued through trial and appeal, according to one of the settlements. So our own fucking, agencies, our own government filed this lawsuit, and it's like, well, if we actually wanted to have them go to justice, it would take a long time. So like in order to like pay off Walmart or whatever and pay off, I don't know whoever got money from this. Oh shit, I'm lagging. I lagged out for a second. I don't know who got money from this. I'm back now in case if I drop some whatever on the back end. It's weird because it doesn't show any block drops whatsoever, but I know for a fact I froze. So, no wrongdoing without admitting fault, and they're not even going to try to depress them, and they just get to move on. So like it's just good business to lie, cheat, and steal, because this is a lot more than $11 million, and this is only if they get caught. The system's fucked. We're cooked. It's over. You know. And they go, "Why aren't you proud of being American? Why aren't you? You know, what do you mean 4th of July doesn't mean nothing to you?" I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What do you mean? It means something very specific, but not what you think. It sucks. But despite it all, I'm trying to fucking. I went to fucking New York and fucking. I'll flash this card every fucking day of the week. I went. I canvassed a resort on my vacation because I believe in us and I believe in what we can do and I want us to get there. Hell, fucking, it won't happen in my lifetime, but if I can help it happen, that'll make me feel good. Cataclysm is lost. That's right. It doesn't mean that we, the humans here in America, have to lose with it. We won't be the best nation because they got a much better. They got an incredible head start. They're already fucking in front. But like whatever, the people here can have a good life. People here can be done right by them or whatever. However you wanted to phrase that whole sentence. So I'm happy to push for it and I'm happy to fight for it because it's what's right. The same reason why I feel like doing a scam is fucking wrong. I want to do what's right. And a lot of people just don't see it the same way. I want to do my best to make sure they can see it the same way, which is why I should end stream soon, very soon, and actually start working on that video edit for a buddy, Cinemarxism, who is also, you know, doing a lot of direct action. He does so much more. He's much more on the anarchist side of things. So he does an insane amount of mutual aid. He's an incredible human. He's more of a humanist. Even he doesn't say it. He is, because he's straight up helped more humans and done more for messaging and all kinds of things. He's great. We don't agree on everything, probably because I'm just stupid and haven't come around to it yet. But he's a great dude, and I would love to help him out. And technically, it also helps me out by increasing my own slight amount of clout, very slight amount. So. Well, like, yeah, there are, you know, yeah. I mean, he's younger than me, but he's had way more experience in a lot of this, not only through reading, but through talking to experts, being on the ground in situations. He was there at the one in LA, not Columbia, but UCLA protest, right? He was there at the encampments. He was there seeing it firsthand. Another little mini TikTok short I wanted to make was teaching people how to go live to YouTube on their phones, but making sure that it's still unlisted. Because I think there's been some concern that if you live stream protests, there's a problem because people's faces will be seen. ICE is the Gestapo. They will definitely use that and look for incriminating things or ways to then track them down and hurt them. So being able to live stream is good, because if your phone gets destroyed by a rubber bullet or a cop that grabs it and smashes it, you don't have to worry about the footage being lost because it's all been saved live to the server. But it being private or unlisted means that you can look at it and make sure to censor faces, or only pull out sections that show them like shooting journalists or something that you want to then get out to the media, because that's important, because that might be the last tiny little piece that helps us finally push through. So it was a thought of doing, and this is one of those things that I could do. Probably everybody knows it already, but I never heard anybody say it. So I figured I could do something like that. Wow, it's 2:30. Gee whiz, time flies. But I like just chip chatting and yapping, just because that's the whole point of all this. It looks like I assume Central Committee is winding down. Ooh, I can raid into a different Hassan orbiter, Jamie Marianne. So if you like Hassan, she watches Hassan. People have referred to it as the VIP chat of watching Hassan, because instead of being ignored by Hassan, they're all co-working, as they refer to it, in the chat, hanging out and adding commentary to the show live in hand. So, and also she's friends with a bunch of other people like Cinemarxism and others. She was literally in a couple of the edits I've made. So if you stay, that'd be sick. And if you don't, I understand. Anyway, I'll probably try to go live somewhere between 7 and 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm trying out some new morning times. Maybe too early is bad. I'm not sure. So definitely I would say safely by 9, but I'm also a fuck and I oversleep sometimes. So until next time, hopefully it is actually tomorrow. Time flies when you're doing communist propaganda. Agit prop, that's right. Hell yeah. Yeah. Take it easy. Free Palestine, all those good things. Bye-bye.
Walk to the most viral hidden gem in New York City. We got the smash burger slathered with house-made vodka sauce and a side of truffle parm fries with hot honey.